that have done this already, if there are countries that are doing this already, then why could we in the Bahamas not look at what they are doing and do an even better job at what they are doing? So, Mr. Deputy, it is a serious conversation. It is a serious conversation because, again, our issue in tourism is capacity. But there is a number of different approvals that have already been done. But they are going through this long process. So if we can pilot this process through for tourism businesses, we can pilot this for the Grand Bahama shipyard businesses, it will again revolutionize how we do business in the Bahamas, Mr. Deputy. And what we are able to do at the end product is, if that business opens up quicker, if that business is able to open up a bank account quicker, then you are able to employ businesses, employ employees quicker. You are able to get the money into the pockets of Bahamians quicker. And this can be integrated for Bahamians as well. So you can have a process where, instead of a Bahamian having to go through to all of these different agencies, and essentially they are submitting the same documentation. They are submitting their passport, they are submitting their business documents, they are submitting their due diligence and so on documents. They are submitting these to different government agencies. And in some instances, they got the documents from another government agency. So if you've gotten this from another government agency and you are submitting it to another government agency, Mr. Deputy, we can find a way to bypass the bureaucracy. So, Mr. Deputy, this is the kind of bold thinking that this moment requires. And this is the leadership that the FNM is prepared to offer. But do not worry, Mr. Deputy. Election is coming, and the FNM will deliver. Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The Chair recognizes the Honourable Member for Exuma, Ragged Island.
Mr. Deputy, this is a point of order, but I didn't want to be combative with the member for East Grand Bahama, particularly that some of the points that he's made I agree with, and I have always been a champion for ease of doing business. But it's important that I point out some realities here. Firstly, let me just state for the record, and I ask your indulgence in lieu of having not interrupted him, Mr. Deputy. First of all, the member has been responsible for these matters for perhaps 4.5 years. Yep. In the FNM administration that he says is the answer and is the solution. Secondly, he has been the minister responsible for Grand Bahama, I believe, for the entirety of the 4.5 years. And they do nothing. But I applaud his brilliance now that he is in opposition, Mr. But they have no credibility on these issues. Zero. I want to make that point clearly, so they're not the answer. A few quick points, Mr. Deputy. Firstly, I corrected the member earlier. I intervened on the stopover. I said it was 8%. It's actually 11.6%, Mr. Deputy. And it's the fastest growing in the country, Mr. Deputy, Grand Bahama. So I asked him to lift up Grand Bahama. As it relates to cruise, the numbers are, hear me, East Grand Bahama. As it relates to cruise, the numbers are down as a result of Margaritaville adjusting their business model. Zero. However, when Carnival Cruise Line opened a July celebration key, Grand Bahama is going to be the fastest growing island in cruise too. And I asked him to help me speak on these issues, lift up Grand Bahama. As it relates to bank accounts, our Minister of Finance has met consistently with the clearing banks, and I am pleased to report that the major banks in the country have indicated that once people submit the requirements, they're able to open bank accounts in less than 1 hour. Amen. Now, I haven't seen this yet, and I have been a proponent to making it happen. But as a result of the intervention of the Honorable Minister of Finance, I am pleased to tell you this matter is in hand. And you should celebrate that. Finally, Mr. Deputy, the member makes it appear by inference that there has not been any work in streamlining processes, when I can say there's now an automated process for submitting permits online, paper gone. NEC meets regularly, unlike the previous administration, and of course, on a monthly, routine, weekly basis, we've been able to make approvals below the NEC thresholds. So we have set new thresholds to make this process more efficiently. And in his private life, Mr. Deputy, he has been the beneficiary of much of the efficiency that we created. They got no credibility on the subject, Mr. Deputy.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The chair recognizes the Honorable Member for East Grand Bahama.
I want to thank the member for Exuma, because the member for Exuma is correct in terms of the advancement for BIA and the time period in responding BIA. That's not, and again, that's not the point that I was making. The point that I was making was after BIA, after you've gotten the approval, you then have to go through another series of different approvals. And my point is, there has to be a way to integrate these agencies to make it one process, one digital process. So the same time period that you are able to do for BIA, we should integrate all of the different agencies, including the central bank and the banks, to integrate them into this process to allow for a shorter period of time, because after BIA, it still took a long period of time before they actually can put a shovel in the ground and start construction or hire persons. That's the point that I was making. But thank you for your input.
The chair recognizes the Honorable Member for Exuma and Ragged Island.
I don't, again, want to be combative on the point, because some of the things that the member say, we agree on some of it. After the approval process, the most lengthy period is the environmental assessments, which by large measure is the responsibility of the developer. We've made some advances. Is there more work to do? Absolutely. Will we continue to press forward? Absolutely. I only take umbrage to how passionate the member's gotten when he went to opposition. Maybe he should stay there, Mr. Deputy.
Thank you, Honorable Member. As many? The chair recognizes the Honorable Member for Kalani.
No. I had to come on time. Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy. Mr. Deputy, before I begin my contribution, may I say a few words of the passing of Pope Francis, who was laid to rest just a few weeks ago, and I did not have an opportunity to speak, being a Catholic. Many people in the world, including the poor and most vulnerable, came to admire and love him for his commitment to peace, his commitment to social justice, and to care for our planet. He spoke for those whose voices, who were often unheard or ignored, amidst the noise of those with special interests, whose voices are drowned out, the least among us. Mr. Deputy, Pope Francis reminded those of us in public life that we are not here to serve our narrow interests and to enrich ourselves at the expense of those we serve. It is all too easy, Mr. Deputy, to give lip service to our concern for the poor and those on the margins, even as we use the power of office to hoard and to fill our pockets with earthly riches while others go without. Mr. Deputy, as this is Pope Francis believes, I think I should say that again so people can understand it. It is all too easy to give lip service to our concern for the poor and those on the margins, even as we use the power of office to hoard and to fill our pockets with earthly riches while others go without. Pope Francis often stated that there are enough resources in the world to feed, to clothe, and to house everyone. Even as we mourn his passing with words, may our actions in this house and in our country pay true tribute to him by fostering a greater common good. Mr. Deputy, it should be a common good that provides greater health care, financial opportunity, and education for all of God's children. May he rest in peace, and may we all, Catholic and non-Catholic, follow in his footsteps in care for all of God's children, who are indeed our brothers and our sisters. Mr. Deputy, the words and the beliefs of Pope Francis was believed by Sir Lyndon Pinling. He shared those views. They were also the views of Sir Cecil Wallace Whitfield. They were the views of the original PLP. And Mr. Deputy, I share those views, and I stick with those views. Keeping with the views of Pope Francis, the views of Sir Lyndon Pinling, the views of Sir Cecil Wallace Whitfield, the views of the original PLP, while, as Prime Minister, my government attempted to elevate the poor. We attempted to provide opportunity for all. We attempted to educate all. We attempted to present a formula that would allow housing for all. And in keeping with those views and the teaching of those three individuals, that was why we made education at University of Bahamas free. We made education at BTVI free. We made education at BAMSI free. And we ensured that every Bahamian student coming from the Family Island to attend university here in the Bahamas was given $500 to assist with their accommodation. We made preschool, Mr. Deputy, free. And for those private schools that could not accommodate additional students, we provided them with assistance and ensured that public students could be admitted into private schools, and we, as government, subsidized them to the tune of $2,000 per student. Mr. Deputy, we did and put forth suggestions for Family Island to ensure that they too would have had preschool education. And therefore, we were providing free land for anyone who had the capacity and the knowledge to commence or start preschool to ensure that it extends to the family island. They would have gotten a grant from SBDC for the tune of $250,000 to assist them, and all materials would have been declared duty-free. In addition to that, students who entered their institution would have likewise they would have received $2,000, just like in New Providence. Mr. Deputy, in keeping with assisting the poor and the Bahamian people, we introduced the Small Business Development Center, and within our budget, we were prepared to allot about $50 million a year to help the poor, to help our entrepreneurs, and to help the marginalized and our females. We made, Mr. Deputy, the inner city tax-free zone, and was our suggestion, was our plan to ensure that these tax-free zones would have extended to the marginalized and poverty-stricken areas. St. Barnabas, Angliston, portions of Camp Road, Rock Crusher, portions of Fort Charlotte, and Gambia Village. Mr. Deputy, in keeping with the beliefs and the views of Pope Francis, Sir Lyndon, and Sir Cecil Wallace Whitfield, we declared all government subdivisions to be tax-free. And we passed the law in 2018, the Access Affordable Home Act, to ensure this was possible. In addition to that, as a progress for home ownership, we were ensuring that every Bahamian citizen would have had opportunity to own land in this country. And how is that done, Mr. Deputy? There are 2.5 million acres, or 73% of the land in the Bahamas, that's owned by the Crown, by you, the people. There are only 400,000 people. Only 400,000 people. When you subtract those residents, etc., you're talking about 350,000. So with our Access Affordable Home Act and developing subdivisions throughout, there were opportunities for every Bahamian to own land and still have sufficient for centuries to come. Mr. Deputy, that's what we were doing. We were introducing the universal school feeding program, and we're happy that you introduced one component of it, but you watered it down. Just breakfast. You watered it down. That included, and I don't want any credit for it. I don't want any credit. I only want the Bahamian people's life and quality of life to improve. So continue the process. That include lunch, breakfast program, lunch program, after school program, after school feeding program, and at the same time, the after school program allowed individuals to stay behind so that they can complete their homeworks. I don't want the credit. I don't want the credit. Mr. Deputy, this government had stopped the tax-free zone for the poor, the inner city. I asked them, bring it back, bring it back. Mr. Deputy, I rise today on behalf of the Kalani constituency to contribute to the debate on the Executive Entities Amendment Bill 2025 and the Banks and Trust Companies Regulation Amendment Bill 2025. I come to this place every meeting as a member of the Free National Movement on behalf of the people of Kalani, who I have represented for nearly 2 decades. They have shown me tremendous support all these years. I remain grateful for this support. My job in this place is to give voice to them.
Order, members.
My job in this place is to give voice to them for better governance for our nation as a whole. It is a pleasure to be their representative in this place, and I look forward to continuing this representation. Mr. Deputy, Mr. Deputy, I want to at this time, I want to at this time congratulate and commend the Deputy Commissioner of Police, Anthony Corpsroll. He was just recently held up in the bank a couple of weeks ago. He was robbed, and he demonstrated leadership and maturity while being robbed. He kept the bank staff relaxed and comfortable. He did not pull his gun. He could have pulled his gun and faced the robber, but with an AK-47, once you touch the trigger, 50 shots. And therefore, many members in the bank could have been dead, including the Deputy Commissioner of Police. Mr. Deputy, that demonstrates leadership, that demonstrates maturity, common sense, and responsibility. I can say with confidence that his action at that time, restraint, saved many lives, including himself, his own. And Mr. Deputy, what that shows is that contrary to the belief of some individuals, contrary to the beliefs of some individuals, the police are not trigger happy. The police use their weapons when it comes to saving lives. The Banks and Trust Companies Regulations Amendment Bill, Mr. Deputy, 2025, seeks to make several amendments to the Bank and Trust Companies Regulations Act in order to make provisions for A, the Central Bank of the Bahamas to regulate any executive entity registered under the Executive Entities Act that exercises the power and duties of trustees. B, any foundation to be included under the central bank's regulatory regime as an entity to which registered representatives may offer foundation agent services. The Executive Entities Amendment Bill 2025 seeks to amend Section 13 of the Executive Entities Act to make provision for an executive entity that is registered under the Principal Act to be subject to the regulatory oversight of the regulator that either licenses or registers the executive entity's agent. We have a vibrant a vibrant financial services sector in our country. And as much as these amendments help us better position our legislative regime, I give my support. Financial services is the second largest industry in the country behind tourism. Addressing issues related to our economy is necessary at this time due to the global environment. The April 2nd tariff announcement by the United States has sent uncertainty across the global economy. The proposed tariff increases by the U.S. would lead to a significant impact on global trade. The IMF said the tariff caused a major negative shock to the world. The IMF also added, we expect that the sharp increase on 2nd of April in both tariff and uncertainty will lead to a significant slowdown in global growth in the near term. A positive point from the April 2nd announcement was that the volatility in the markets caused by the tariffs led the U.S. to suspend the tariff implementation for 90 days. And during this period, it is hoped that the U.S. and tariff countries could work out trade deals that would prevent harm to the global economy. What remains of concern, however, is the U.S.-China relationship. The April 2nd tariff announcement, which included a sharp increase on China, led to an exchange between the countries, resulting in a U.S. tariff rate against China of 145% and a Chinese rate against the United States of 125%. A standoff remains between the two superpowers that threatens global trade and supply chains, and a potential increase in prices. The Bahamas was hit by a 10% tariff. This will mostly impact our fisheries, exports. The even bigger impact will be the effect the tariff wars have on the overall global economy, including consumer confidence in the United States, which could affect our tourism industry and revenues. The Bahamian economy, Mr. Deputy, is already in a vulnerable position due to a lack of ideas from the New Day administration on how to spur growth. The economy grew by 2.6% in 2023. It slowed to 1.9% in 2024. And this year, the economy was forecast to grow only 1.7%. The IMF, however, recently marginally upped the growth rate to 1.8%. Stopover arrivals are the main component of our tourism sector. They were flat last year, equaling the number that came to the Bahamas in 2023. With no growth in the main segment of our tourism sector, we are stuck in low growth. If a global recession results from the tariff wars, the Bahamas could slip quickly into negative growth too, because our economy is already growing too slowly under the PLP government. I have listened to the various statements by the Prime Minister, who is the Minister of Finance and also the Minister of Economic Affairs on the global situation. None of their statements give me confidence that this administration has a plan for the Bahamian economy in these uncertain times. The 0.1% revision to our GDP outlook for this year is not a vote of confidence in our economic outlook, as the Minister of Economic Affairs would like us to believe. In the IMF's April World Economic Outlook, the fund was deeply concerned about the global situation. The IMF said, intensifying downside risk dominate the outlook amid escalating trade tensions and financial market adjustments. Went on, divergent and swiftly changing policy positions or deteriorating sentiment could lead to even tighter global financial conditions. The IMF stated ratcheting up a trade war and heightened trade policy uncertainty may further hinder both short-term and long-term growth prospects. Scaling back international cooperation could jeopardize progress toward a more resilient global economy, end quote. Mr. Deputy, we debate these bills here today intended to help with aspects of our financial services regulatory environment. I wonder, though, where is the PLP plan for the Bahamian economy in these difficult times? The Prime Minister has talked about his VAT cut at the grocery store and energy sector reform. I support the VAT cut and also aspects of the energy sector reform. Though there was clearly not enough effort made to make regular Bahamians shareholders in the liberalization. Mr. Deputy, this goes back to the original PLP, the Pope, in terms of shareholders in liberalization. Now let's get back to grass facts. In 2023, a company was formed, Bahamas Grid, a no-bid contract. That company responsible for distribution and transmission. 40% of the company is owned by the Bahamian people, the government. Their infusion for 40% is to the tune of $100 million. That's their existing infrastructure, asset, et cetera. 40% for $100 million. The wealthy, politically connected individuals bought 60% for $30 million. 60% for $30 million, while 40% to us, $100 million. But to the elite, $30 million for 60. Mr. Deputy, in my mathematical knowledge, if 40% is $100 million, it means that 20%, divide 40 by 2, would be $50 million, which means that 60% should be $150 million. So, Mr. Deputy, if the 60 was bought for 150, but for 30 million, then where has the other 120 million gone? In addition to that, now this is where it gets hot. In addition to that, to raise $100 million to upgrade the systems, bonds were offered to Bahamians, but the minimum cost of $50,000, which meant that the average Bahamian cannot afford this. The question that has to be asked, Mr. Deputy, we need to know who were the individuals who invested in the bonds. Because 120 million is sitting out there. Did they use the same 120 million that supposedly is ours sitting out there as a part of the bonds and get an additional 8%? Is there double dipping? These are questions that has to be answered. And we also need to know, with respect to the Bahamas mooring, Are they the same individuals? We need to know who are the individuals involved in the grid as well as the mooring. Because the grid, during their contractual lifetime, will make these elite individuals will make almost $500 million. And then the mooring, during their lifetime, will make approximately $1.2 billion. So are they the same individuals? That is not in keeping with shareholders or liberalization. That is not in keeping with liberalization, Mr. Deputy. And I have a lot more to say later. One newspaper recently stated, the Davis administration's energy reform strategy document, Securing the Bahamas' Energy Future, is characterized by political spin and fails to acknowledge the role the PLP administrations have played in BPL. The report also speaks about the transparent approach the Davis administration is supposedly taking to energy reform, a laughable claim, considering we still do not know the commercial details of the various agreements the government has thus far entered into to affect these reforms. Meanwhile, what does the PLP have in its agenda to help grow this short and medium term? It seems as if this New Day administration has run out of ideas more than 3.5 years into their term. When discussions of the stagnation in our air arrivals emerge, the administration keeps saying we do not have enough new rooms coming on stream. I ask the question, are all of our existing rooms filled? No one can complain that they can't find rooms. The problem, Mr. Deputy, we need more airlift and somehow to decrease the cost for travel to attract overnight visitors. Well, the question, what are they doing to cause the necessary number of new rooms being built based on their argument? While in opposition, they had all the answers to Grand Bahama's problem. Yet, more than 3.5 years into their term, there still is no airport, no new airport in Grand Bahama. And despite their big talk, the Grand Lucayan has still not been sold. All we hear every now and then from the PLP on these two sides is soon, very soon. Soon. Again, what is the plan for the Bahamas during these difficult times? Alarming warning signs are constantly emerging. Earlier this month, according to a University of Michigan survey, consumer sentiments in the U.S. plunged to its second lowest reading on record since 1952. The American consumer is worried about all the uncertainty hovering over their national and global economy. This would mean the Americans are potentially entering a phase where they are more careful with how they spend their money. The resorts and cruise companies would already be able to see if there is a slowdown in tourism spending to our country coming. The forward future bookings are a good indicator of what mood the American traveler is in. If there is an upward swing in canceled bookings and slowed future bookings, that would mean a slowdown in the Bahamian economy is coming. A slowdown in future bookings would mean that resorts will cut back on their domestic spending. Can the government please advise whether our major resorts, other properties, and airlines are experiencing or seeing a cancellation of bookings for this year and next year? Will the Minister of Tourism advise about cancellations in the lucrative group tourism business?
Honorable member, are you asking for more time?
Yes, Mr. Deputy. I have No more blows, but these are just facts that the Bahamian people need to know. So if you just give me the additional 4 minutes.
4 minutes.
Huh? I'm saving the blows for the budget. You got an hour to talk. Anyhow, how is tourism in Grand Bahama and the Family Island being affected? Mr. Deputy, I advise the Prime Minister to cut back on the regular luxury travel schedule and to focus on developing a plan for our country during this period of global uncertainty. It is not good enough to just sit and watch what happens, desperately trying to react to the fallout after it happens. The Bahamian people elected his party to have solutions to the problems of today. The Davis administration is clearly now just hoping that things don't get worse. Hope is not a plan. Hope is not a strategy. We on the opposite side stand ready to work. Stand ready to work with the governing side on legislation and policies to make the Bahamas better. The leader of the opposition has regularly reached out a hand of assistance in a bipartisan manner. I, Mr. Deputy, will support pro-growth legislation in this place, but it has to first be proposed. My worry is that the PLP's mind is focused on the wrong things. The administration has spent its time giving contracts and jobs to its supporters. Mr. Deputy, I have a lot I can run on with, but I want to, before I close, I just want to extend condolences to the Bostwick family on the death of Henry Bostwick, who has made an outstanding citizen, has made great contribution to the advancement of the legal profession, great contribution to the advancement of the Bahamas, and great contribution to the advancement of the Free National Movement. I also, Mr. Deputy, want to just say that we've had a fire just 2 days ago in the Kalani constituency, Sea Beach area, and many things had come to mind or that was recognized, noticed at that time. The Deputy, I think we need to look at regulations and town planning with respect to more fire hydrants. The design and the number of fire hydrants, were excellent yesterday, but the population has grown, and therefore we may need new regulations. Maybe amendments even to ensure that fire hydrants are in all subdivisions, gated communities, etc., as this would help. And we need to ensure that we have the necessary drones so that we can look and survey and see the extent of the fire so that we can manage it appropriately. But I want to congratulate the members of the fire department who have done an excellent job in managing the fire in the Sea Beach area. And I think under the circumstances, we're undergoing global change and global warming, and more fires will come. And I think they would need all the appropriate tools and equipment. Whether you're in government, we in government, the point is the Bahamian people would need it. And we're a continuous government. Mr. Deputy, thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Member. As many, the Chair recognizes the Honourable Member for Long Island.
Mr. Deputy, I am grateful to have an opportunity to rise in this place yet again on behalf of the great people of Long Island I am honored to serve them in these honorable precincts. Mr. Deputy, I want to begin by firstly giving condolences to a few persons who these are not constituents of mine, but I would have heard that they passed. And first, I want to give condolences to Ms. Valerie, the family of Ms. Valerie Nita Robertson, King's Counsel, out of Jamaica. I recently was notified of her passing, and so I extend condolences to Nita Robertson's family in Jamaica. She collaborated with me on another matter, and I must I say she was an attorney who one could greatly have learned from. I respected her greatly. I recently discovered also that a former colleague of mine, Belva Zonical, had passed. We taught together at LW Young some years ago, and I was just calling, asking about her, and I was quite surprised to discover that she had passed, so I extend condolences, though late, to her, the entire Zonical family. Belva was good people. Mr. Deputy, I also extend condolences to the family of the Honorable Henry Boswick, to his wife, the Honorable Janet Boswick, and to his daughter, former Senator Lisa Boswick-Dean, and the entire family, John, and everyone in the family. I extend condolences on behalf of myself, my family, and the people of Long Island. Mr. Deputy, I want to begin by congratulating the sailors from Long Island. I didn't have a chance to do it last week, for their run at the Exuma Regatta. You know, we always come and we take gold, and everyone is fighting for second and third. So I congratulate them this and every time. And you know, a couple of weeks from now, we will once again take gold, and we invite all the Exuma and Abaco boys to come down and get what's waiting for them in Long Island. Mr. Deputy, come to Long Island. Mr. Deputy, I also want to congratulate the Carifta team as well, particularly Celestial Dowell, the national swim coach and coordinator. She's one of those persons who, I know my son has been involved with her club, and though he's taken a break to focus on national exams, he'll be engaged again during the summer. I know that the member for Elizabeth isn't here. I had something for her as well. I'm grateful to her for a particular thing. I'll wait till she returns to the House, or till she comes to the House, to speak on that. Mr. Deputy, I don't have a whole lot to say about this particular piece of legislation, except to indicate that I support the legislation. I believe it is putting us in line with our international obligations. However, I do believe there's a need for a financial sector strategic plan that could go across governments, could be translated across governments over time. I did take note, though, that while the bills both speak to central bank oversight and expanding that oversight or direct oversight by the central bank, whilst that's beneficial, these bills must also ensure, the government must also ensure that the central bank is adequately resourced and empowered to effectively monitor and enforce compliance among these entities. Frankly, without detailed provisions, there's a risk of regulatory overreach or insufficient enforcement. And that's about the extent of my contribution on these bills. Now, but I would definitely like to turn my attention to my constituency, Mr. Deputy. Mr. Deputy, we have any number of challenges in Long Island, any number of challenges. And I want to start with banking, which I have constantly spoken on in this place, constantly pleaded with the government to assist by having the Bank of the Bahamas come to Long Island, which the government is the main shareholder in, to provide services to my people. Long Island is a major island that remains pretty much unbanked, and it's disgraceful. You know, just last week I was speaking to my constituent Betty Miller, who owns a food store in Salt Pond. You know, and she bemoaned angrily bemoaned paying taxes. Look, I'm going to quote her. Man, I'm paying taxes for nothing. We're struggling here. And she talked about the state of affairs, and particularly banking as a business person. She talked about the Scotia. Scotia has an ATM there. And she talked about that, the deposit side of that being down for weeks, where business houses couldn't make deposits. Okay, and I believe the Scotia Bank needs to get its act together in Long Island. Talked about how long it takes. We are waiting on the telephone, trying to get some assistance. That the night depository, even at that ATM, is like pulling teeth. So I call upon Scotia Bank, who have an ATM there. If you have an ATM there, service the ATM man. And I call upon the Bank of the Bahamas to come to Long Island. Yes. We urgently need you in Long Island. I call upon the Teachers Credit Union, come to Long Island. Yes. We urgently need you in Long Island. I call upon the government to put mechanisms and means in place where these entities, these financial entities, would seek or would be pushed to come to islands like ours, especially entities where government has majority shareholding in, like the Bank of the Bahamas. We cannot have entire islands, major islands, being unbanked. Recently I saw some comments from Sir Frankie Wilson, and he talked about banks. One of the observations I've made, Mr. Deputy, is that even though COVID is now, well, it's still around, but the peak of COVID has now passed. So now you have all these various vaccines and so on. Banks continue to close early in Nassau. They continue to maintain these pre-COVID, or these COVID hours. They've not gone back to pre-COVID hours, and it's at the expense of Bahamians. I think sometimes you go to the bank now, 2 p.m., closed. Yep. Closed. How could people possibly get any business done like that? How? So they need to extend these hours. And frankly, I think we need to bite the bullet and undertake the necessary legislative changes to compel banks in this country to do certain things. Because, I mean, they're only taking advantage of Bahamians. You put your money in the bank, you don't touch it, you put $1,000 there, you come back a year or two later, it's $800. What are they charging you for? What are they charging you for? So, and then of course, we need to also deal with some of these businesses around town that continue to enforce an illegal minimum purchase requirement on credit cards or debit cards, right? We need to look into that and ensure, Consumer Affairs needs to ensure that businesses aren't allowed to get away with doing that, okay? And then there are those businesses who have this thing where they charge poor Bahamians a so-called convenience fee for them to use their credit card and debit cards. Come on, man. That should not be allowed in this country. And we must take the necessary steps to ensure that persons doing that are fined or face some kind of consequence. Mr. Deputy, I'm going to come to talk about the road situation in Long Island. That is something I really want to talk about. But you know, sometime later this year, I think it's later this year, will make about 3 years since the government, the Prime Minister, and others handed some prime Long Island land to Azul Destinations Limited to develop a cruise port in South Long Island called Calypso Cove. And it's not clear whether that land was granted or leased, but what happened to that project? Curious minds want to know. We've seen nothing since that time. You had a nice, flashy, groundbreaking. I was there. And absolutely no development, nothing since that time. People were hopeful that some development was coming to South Long Island. And from then to now, you've heard and seen little to nothing. You know, we are tired of being tricked and fooled with white elephants. We want to see some real investment in Long Island.
The chair recognizes the honorable member for Exuma and Ragged Island.
The member for Long Island knows that he could call anytime the minister responsible for investments to inquire the status on a project in his constituency, Mr. Deputy. So I will only remind him of that. But I take offense to the thought of, no. Hear me,
Members,
hear me out. I took exception to this idea of the government tricking and fooling people. And the member shouldn't do that. It's not an honorable thing to do. And I ask him to desist, Madam Speaker. But in relation to the project he's inquiring about, the project is going through environmental studies at this time. It's an easy answer.
thank you, honorable member.
Well, I reiterate, Long Island people are tired of being tricked, fooled, tricked and fooled, and told that investments are coming to our island, and we never see these investments materialize. Fancy groundbreakings, no investment materialize, year after year, and this has been ongoing now. Like I said, this is going to be the third year since the groundbreaking in South Long Island, and there are persons who have questions about it because people were hopeful about the potential of this investment. Okay? So, and that's the next question. How was it approved without the environmental study? That is a very good question, Sedans. How was it approved? How did they get a heads of agreement? How? But be that as it may, listen, I want to see all investment.
The chair recognizes the honorable member for Exuma and Ragged Island.
Some confusion in the minds of certain members of the opposition as to how the process works. The process works that there is an approval in principle subject to doing certain things. The environmental approval takes considerable period of time. It lies mainly in the hands of the developers to engage the appropriate consultants, and then those environmental studies are signed off as satisfactory or not by DEP. If they're not, the project doesn't proceed. If it is satisfactory to DEP, then the project goes ahead. So, you know, I know this is silly season now, and some on the other side might seek to, this process has always been the same, Mr. Deputy, even when they were in government. But I notice how they're getting this renewed passion about governance. That's why we can keep them over there in opposition. They're smarter when they're in opposition, Mr. Deputy.
Mr. Deputy, the member for Exuma could use his speech for pontificating. Mr. Deputy, my position is clear. If it is that we have this investment, and you're talking about signing a heads of agreement, or having signed one, we're 3 years in. And so if we're talking about an environmental study being done, 3 years has now passed. Why hasn't the study been done in 3 years? Yeah. Okay? The people of Long Island have been waiting to see this investment materialize. Yeah. Is it going to materialize, or is it yet another white elephant? Mr. Deputy, I also want to raise the issue of health care in Long Island. I've been getting a lot of calls from my constituents with concerns with respect to health care. In recent months, I would have contributed from the constituency fund to revamping and redeveloping the Roses Clinic, which is a clinic that is in the deep south of the island and could cater to persons in that area without them having to drive out of their immediate communities. And the renovations were complete. However, there is a need for a nurse to man that clinic, and I understand that there's been some delay with that nurse coming to the island, some bureaucratic situation, and I'm calling upon the minister, the member for Tall Pines, to intervene to ensure that that nurse comes to Long Island so that she's able to man that clinic and be able to work in that community to address the health concerns of the people of the Deep South in Long Island, so they don't have to drive out of their way to have medical attention. We desperately need that. Also, we have a situation in Long Island where prior to now, prior to the last few years, last 2-3 years, Long Island had 2 doctors, a doctor in the south, or at the McKinsey Clinic, and a doctor at the Sims Clinic, the Sims Community Clinic. Today, Long Island has no doctors, no doctor. With one doctor coming in, they rotate a doctor every 2 weeks, a rotating set of doctors, one doctor for the whole island. When there are 2 major clinics, and the island is, as you know, is Long Island. And that is not sustainable, that is untenable, that is unacceptable for my people. There's no reason why we no longer have 2 doctors on the island when we've had it for the last, I don't even know how long, many, many decades. And I call upon the member for Tall Pines and the Ministry of Health to ensure that there are 2 doctors assigned to Long Island, one for Northern Long Island and one for Southern Long Island, and both can work in the central. But the issue is Long Island currently have no doctor presently situated on the island. The same thing with the morgue and Deadman's Key. The morgue cooler, I'm grateful that the morgue cooler was sent, but the morgue cooler is sitting outside in the yard, okay? Outside in the yard. And for months, this cooler has not been connected. They say the space is too small to put it in. So why not go and undertake the necessary renovations expeditiously so that the morgue cooler could be put into the space at the clinic and persons don't have to endure the indignity of having to carry their dead loved ones in the back of a truck many, many miles down to the Sims Clinic. I once saw where the Sims Clinic had 5-6 bodies in it at one time. This is the morgue, I should say. And that cooler only allows for 3 bodies. So the Warno Jones, Ryan and Doe had to come to Long Island to continuously embalm the bodies because people were dying in that stretch. Unacceptable. Unacceptable. Why is the morgue cooler still in the yard after all these months? Brand new. Mr. Deputy, the same applies to the ambulance. It was an ambulance donated by Alive that has been turned over. And there's a new ambulance, which is quite small, I'm understanding, that was sent to the island. But at present, there's no one to man or drive any of the ambulances on the island. The ambulance, they're sitting there rotting down. Nobody to drive them, nobody to take care of the patients. No one. They're sitting there. What help is the ambulance to the people of Long Island if they're just sitting parked up, battery dying, maintenance having to be done every few months? That makes no sense. And so I call upon the government to ensure that the necessary personnel are put in place to drive the ambulances and also the EMTs to care for the patients while they're inside the ambulances being transported from either home to clinic or clinic to the airport to get an emergency flight. We know that the IDB during our administration had earmarked, I think it was some 1.5 million, and I'll speak on this further in the budget debate because I'm going to bring some documents. And we have not had any of that money. We keep hearing promises applied to the clinic for works at the clinic in Deadman's Key. That IDB allocation was to see that clinic upgraded to one of the major community mini hospitals of sorts in this country. You would have had a lab. You have no lab. You want to do blood work, you got to fly to Nassau. You would have had a proper lab there. You would have had ambulance stations there and an ambulance bay, not the ambulance park, crossing the grass, and various upgrades to that clinic that is yet to materialize, that is yet to happen on the island. And it's really unacceptable. Mr. Deputy, on the healthcare front, emergency flights. One of the issues my constituents tell me as it relates to emergency flights coming from Long Island to Nassau is that when they get to Nassau, there's no ambulance at the airport waiting on them. Recently, and I'm sure she wouldn't have an issue with me calling her name, Miss Patricia Major and those came to Nassau. And when they came in, they met no ambulance waiting for them at the airport. No ambulance. They had to be transported in private car to the clinic. Not to the clinic, to the hospital. So what's with this lack of organization? Why wasn't an ambulance waiting? You heard the people coming on the emergency flight, coming all the way from Long Island. That's unacceptable, unacceptable. And we family islanders demand much more. Mr. Deputy, we also have a concern. My constituents have communicated a concern about the mailboat situation in the island, on the island to me. And I want to deal particularly with the Myadane, which services South Long Island. The Myadane is a carrier. They have the mail bag, okay? And the carrier of the mail bag is supposed to be the mainstay, the main mailboat service provider on these islands. But it is a travesty that the Myadane, which is supposed to be our boat for the South, hasn't sailed for nearly 2 decades. It's been moored at the Potterski dock from 2008, but yet continues to have the bag for services to Long Island. And from 2008, it's still there, from 2008. You all in charge now, you fix it. Mr. Deputy, we know that the Myadane is not seaworthy. And based on it sitting there, I guess the government is only waiting for it to sink by the dock, like many of the other boats littering the dock, okay? Costing taxpayers millions more to salvage the dock wreckage and dispose of it. But I think it is insane that the Myadane continues to have the contract to service Long Island people, but are not showing up consistently on time. I recently saw a video from store owner Michael Thompson. Michael Thompson was livid. You know, he and his wife, Jonika, who's a schoolmate of mine, own a store in Deals, Long Island. 2 good people, striving, hard-working people. And I also got similar concerns expressed to me by Monty Major, my good friend Monty, the son of Ellis Major, who owns Budget and Extra Value and so on. They came in when they want to come in, not at the scheduled time they're supposed to be in. And when they reach, the store owners have rotted vegetables and rotted fruits, okay? How can that be? You're supposed to be in Long Island on Thursday, and you're showing up the following Monday. And these people's stuff already delivered. And when they get it, it's rotted, lost. And then there are concerns about the tariff. That even though there's a tariff for mailboat service, or how much you could charge per box, that they're charging that the freight cost is beyond that which is allowed by the tariff. That's unacceptable. We need the Consumer Affairs Department to ensure that mailboat operators, these persons are strictly observing the tariffs, not overcharging family islanders, not showing up when they feel like, when they have the bag. And frankly, I call upon the government to cancel the contract and provide the contract to a provider who is prepared and willing to serve the people of Long Island on time. Be there when they're supposed to be there. If you're supposed to be there on Thursday, you be there on Thursday. Not bring people's fruits and vegetables spoiled. Not go to other islands, and then when you're coming back, you go to Long Island. That's unacceptable, and we're not accepting that. And not overcharge us for a box. Okay, if you want to have the mail bag for Long Island, you treat Long Island with respect. You know, I saw something, Albert Cartwright from South Long Island spoke recently about buying some TVs and said that the freight alone, Albert bought 3 TVs out of the United States. And he said the freight was $248. And then he had to turn around and pay the delivery cost to drive it to his place from Clarence, and the delivery, he said, was another $150. And he complained about this. He said, man, the freight from Florida to Nassau was $80. And he paid $354 for the 3 TVs altogether. So how could a TV cost, from shipping from Nassau to Long Island, $248, plus the delivery fee of $150? That's a highway robbery, man. Highway robbery. Mr. Deputy, I also want to deal with a few infrastructural issues. But before I get there, I want to note, seeing that the Minister of Health has walked in, that we need a dentist on the island where he can show up at least once every 3 months. Because we haven't had a dental service from the government dentist on the island for quite some time. And so we'd like to see that happen. I know that there's been some concern raised with me about the mail boats, or one of the mail boats, in terms of their ability to bring frozen product. And I intend to have a conversation with the captain about that as well on behalf of my constituents. Mr. Deputy, on the issue of the mail boats, at present, the Island Link, which services Central and North Long Island, and they cannot get in to the Salt Pond dock. And that is due to them dragging, the bottom dragging, because there needs to be some dredging that's desperately needed at that dock so that boat doesn't get damaged and it can go into Salt Pond, because Jed and those, they go to Sims and they go to Salt Pond, but right now he is restricted. He can only go into Sims. And then just last week, for example, he got into Sims quite late at night because he had to wait on the tide. Here again, the Sims dock also needs to be dredged. So both of the docks need to be dredged, because while he's coming into Sims now, he's forced to wait on the tide to get in there. Mr. Deputy, I've been speaking to some of my fishermen, and they've been complaining about the numbers of sharks they're encountering as they go out on the banks, as they go fishing, and that there has to be, the government must at least set out 2-3 months for there to be some culling of sharks. There's simply too many sharks in the water at this time. It is a great danger to my constituents, to my fishermen, and certainly we have to do something to cut down on the numbers, because they're just reproducing and reproducing. Those of us who come from constituencies where we have a large fishing population, you can appreciate what I am saying. So the government must give consideration to setting aside a few months of the year for persons to go out there and, there'll be some culling of the shark population. Mr. Deputy, I also note that, I'm going to save the bulk of my comments on this Golden Yoke program for the budget. However, Mr. Deputy, I saw a video recently where there was I'm sure many in here saw it, a truck, 2 trucks, I think it was, donating boxes and boxes of eggs. I'm not donating, dumping boxes and boxes of eggs in the dump. I know it wasn't. That's why I come into that. Because the Golden Yoke program don't exist. Boom. So this egg, or these eggs that were being destroyed or dumped, what was the reason for it? When I go into the stores now, I wouldn't call it the name of a store, but when you open the carton of eggs, it looks kind of, you get some black on some of the eggs, it looks suspect. And there are persons who are complaining about the quality of eggs that we are now seeing come into the country. But if this Golden Yolk program was alive and well, we wouldn't have this issue with Bahamians expressing concerns about eggs. And there are many persons not buying eggs as a result of that. You know, an Aura Mapinda, I'm gonna need 3 cartons of eggs when I come to Long Island in a couple of days. You have native eggs on the island, or it could be them as well, and the Roddy boys, it could be them as well, but I can tell you, Aura Mapinda, both Aura Mapinda and the Roddy boys are from Long Island. Both of them are both sets of those people are my constituents. But
The chair recognizes the honorable member for Centerville.
is there a point of order, Mr. Deputy?
Yes, point of order. In response to the statement from the member for Long Island, we don't want any confusion or misclarification as to the origin of the eggs that were dumped. They were in no way related to the Golden Yolk program. And I'm clarifying it for the general public, because you spoke about the Golden Yolk program prior to speaking about eggs being dumped. So I'm here to help you, Long Island. But it's still offered. It's here for you too, Senance. Mr. Deputy, the Nassau Guardian printed an article which states Super Value owner Rupert Roberts said that a trailer of recently dumped eggs expired as a result of a 5-week delay in shipping, adding that Super Value is not in the business of selling spoiled produce to the Bahamian consumers. I have it on my phone, Mr. Deputy. I'll undertake to print a table for Super Value spoke to it, Mr. Roberts spoke to it in the article, and I'll table it for the general public. It's printed in the Nassau Guardian, and there was also a story aired with it through the general press.
Thank you, honorable member.
I think all of us in here, or most of us, or a good number of us, have heard the complaints and concerns about the eggs.
Honorable member, will you be able to lay the documents?
I will do.
Thank you.
Print this and lay the document. And Mr. Deputy, in further to that, we just wish the general public to note that eggs are now being sold by local farmers at GRAC at one of the cheapest rates in the Caribbean region, at under $7. So for the edification of the member of Long Island, you can visit D&T Nursery, you can visit the Gladstone Road Agricultural Center, you can visit BAIC, and you could furnish yourself with eggs that are sold by less than $7 per dozen. The cheapest rate in the Caribbean at this point in time, and locally produced eggs. And there are eggs that are now being supplied throughout the Commonwealth of the Bahamas through the National Layer Program, being sold for $6 a dozen. You can even find some at Ellen Coakley High School in Exuma, where we recently visited. And there were also another, yes, we're also now seeking to undertake that Farmers Key and Grand Key also become self-sufficient with eggs.
Mr. Deputy, Mr. Deputy, I will, but firstly, I never ever implied that the eggs dumped were from the Golden Yolk program. I said that the Golden Yolk program is not alive and well. We have not seen any evidence of this program. And if there had been evidence of this program, they'd be in the food stores. I'm happy to hear that there are places in New Providence and elsewhere producing eggs. I know my constituency, I know where to get eggs in my constituency, and that's where I'll be getting them from. But if these places are producing eggs, these eggs should also be put in the food stores, so Bahamians can feel confident and comfortable with what they are purchasing, Mr. Deputy. Mr. Deputy, I also want to note that I want to ask the Minister of Works, the member for Central and South Eleuthera, to assist me with providing more of the coal patch for Long Island. I know 10 pallets was recently sent there, but that was hardly a drop in the bucket But we need major roadworks. The minister has promised some 18 miles of roadworks for the people of Long Island. We would like to see that contract signed. We would like to see that materialize in actual roadworks on the island, because we continue to drop into craters on the island. Continue to drop into craters on the island. You could play golf with your car on the island. And so, Mr. Deputy, I call upon the member to expedite the roadworks for Long Island, the proposed 18 miles of roadwork, and to send some additional coal patch, because I don't know if areas like Bunches and those have any coal patch and those big holes as yet. And so more than 10 pallets is needed. It's called Long Island for a reason. And quite a long stretch of road is pothole laden. Quite a long stretch of road, Mr. Deputy. Mr. Deputy, I also want to announce that
Honorable
I
member,
will be...
are you wrapping up?
I am.
Okay.
I also want to announce that I will be donating $10,000 from the constituency fund to the Long Island Association sometime this week to assist them with my annual contribution, assist them with the regatta. This is my annual contribution to the regatta. And we look forward to having a well-attended regatta, one of the best regattas in this country, and to also having retaining all of the gold medals, silver medals, and bronze medals. And those who say that's just the E-class,
Yeah, they laughing.
when you come to Long Island, all those smiles will disappear.
Yeah.
Because Class A, B, C, E
They don't respect
will
the
remain in
Class
Long
A's.
Island.
They think it's
We will respect Long Island and its prowess
They don't respect the
in
Class
regattas after this upcoming regatta, so we will see
respect
where the laughter ends then. And so, Mr. Deputy,
for national pride.
Mr. Deputy, there's a few other issues I'd like to address,
Your side is laughing.
but I will leave that
Your side laughing.
for later on. I think that
Your side's laughing at the E-class.
I think that rather than bringing stability, we see a lot of fragility, particularly as it relates to the necessary development that impacts family islands. Our family islands have been lost in the mix, and the necessary attention have not been paid to our islands. We hear a lot of talk, but very little action. And so, Mr. Deputy, with those few words, I rest.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The Chair recognizes the Honorable Member for Central and South Eleuthera.
Mr. Deputy, it's amazing to me how the member for Long Island could come in and fix his mouth about Long Island roads when he represented, I think he'd been there 4.5 years under the former administration, and they paved, they paved a half a mile of road in 4.5 years. Since we've took office, we've already paved 12 miles of road of Long Island. And not only that, we have put out for tender 18 miles of road on Long Island. We're not just sand sealed, asphalt roads for Long Island. That you'll see the work in a few short months, Mr. Deputy. Then do nothing for Long Island, and then do nothing for Long Island. And they want to talk about road patch. They want to talk about road paving. Coal patch. Half a mile? Anyhow. We just sent 10 pallets, yeah. But we'll send more. We'll send more Long Island. In regards to the Golden Yoke, Mr. Deputy, the Ministry of Works has undertaken the infrastructural aspect of the Golden Yoke project. And if the good member for Long Island, I will even take him for a ride out to Gladstone Road to see. I'll take him for a drive. You know, St. Anne's mind is always in the gutter, Mr. Deputy. I don't know what he'd be thinking about over in that corner. But, Mr. Deputy, the Golden Yoke project, all buildings from A to E is under construction. Actually, this morning, Mr. Deputy, if you go out to Gladstone Road, they are they are pouring the foundation right now at a Gladstone Road. So I will ensure that I carry you to see that project. And we anticipate that once the infrastructural aspect is completed, the Ministry of Agriculture will take carriage, and you will see eggs in the third quarter of this year branded by the Golden Yoke here in country.
Thank you, honorable member. The chair recognizes the honorable member for Long Island.
I see all the cute comments. Mr. Deputy, firstly, the government of the day has been in office for 4 years, okay? 4 years and 0 done in Long Island. Secondly, Mr. Deputy, the member for South and Central Eleuthera has been the Minister of Works now for at least, what, 2 years? About 2 years, okay? From the beginning. He's bragging about works done in Long Island, but this member inherited the contract for that work. Governments are continuous. He didn't sign a new contract for those works. He's now talking about this amount was done. He inherited that. And furthermore, the fact that the works weren't done was not something due to the government, our government. It was due to contractor issues. The contractor did not deliver on the work. The contractor had challenges. We all know this. The former Minister of Works and the member for Fort Charlotte know that the contractor had issues. The people of Long Island know that the contractor had issues. So that cannot be blamed upon the former administration. The contractor had issues. That contractor appears to have been dumped by your administration. And the road works that were done, has changed substantially. You put sand seal roads in Long Island when that contract called for asphalt roads to be put in Long Island. So you downgraded the road quality for northern Long Island. And so if you ride on one side of the road, one side up to a point is asphalt, another side is complete sand seal, and sand seal runs the rest of the way. So do not say that we only pay X amount. No. That contract was issued during COVID, first of all, and then the contractors started the work, and then you all could not continue the rest of the way. You could not. In fact, you had to come in there and dismiss the contractor. So it's on you. You've been government for 4 years. You fix it.
Thank
4
you,
years. You've been Minister of Works for 2 years. So let me address the issue, Mr. Deputy, of the Golden Yoke program that he spoke to. Right? I always want to see programs like this be successful. I believe in economic diversity. I believe in diversification. I believe in seeing our farmers and others thrive. I'm from a farming and fishing island. However, the Golden Yoke program, since it was promised at the very beginning of this administration, has become a golden joke. Nothing has materialized. You're talking about a building. This goes much more than a building. It's supposed to also touch and concern persons who would be farming and contributing eggs to this program. We've not seen that. We see them now trying to rush to import eggs from wherever they're getting it from. That's what we see.
Thank you, honorable member. The chair recognizes the honorable member for Tall Pines.
Thank you so much, Mr. Deputy. First of all, I'd like to join the chorus with South and Central Eleuthera and to call the member of Long Island out. In his first 4.5 years.
600 feet of road a year.
Yes, 4.5 years of non-productivity.
Nothing.
I want to speak not to the member for Long Island. I want to speak to the people of Long Island. Because he raised some points, one that is completely inaccurate. He spoke about a $1.2 million, $1.5 million. I'm starting to be corrected on that. That was approved by the IDB. I don't know where he's getting his information from because I have all the documents in front of me. One point that he did make that makes sense is that the Clarencetown Clinic is part of the IDB remit for renovations, additional renovations on top of the renovations that was already been done. As far as the nursing staff, because while you were speaking, my staff in the Department of Public Health was texting me to give me the information to correct you, but I decided to allow you to finish your presentation, and I'm about to correct you now. As far as the Roses Clinic is concerned, the members of Long Island, the people of Long Island can rest assured that we are definitely in the process of providing nursing services so that we can do the preventative care necessary for those in that particular area. As far as additional nurses for Long Island, that is being addressed. And as far as another doctor for Long Island, we assure the residents of Long Island that that will be addressed very soon. The ambulance itself, we completed our training from the Royal Bahamas Police Force, and thanks to the member of National Security, that is going extremely well, and we intend to make sure that ground transportation on the island of Long Island is met at a standard that is consistent with New Providence and Grand Bahama. And lastly, the government's protocol for ELIF is very straightforward. The clinic is supposed to notify the accident emergency. The accident emergency is supposed to notify ground transportation in New Providence, and ground transportation is supposed to meet air transportation at the Salinden International Airport so that there can be smooth flow of air and ground transportation so that citizens in our far-flung islands will have access to that ongoing care. And so, to the people of Long Island, the Progressive Liberal Party will ensure that healthcare infrastructure is improved, that there will be coordinated ground and air transport on the island of Long Island in comparison with all islands in the Bahamas. We intend to ensure that there's lab and diagnostics on Long Island to prevent these unnecessary flights to New Providence and to give our doctors on the ground the tools necessary to make the appropriate differential diagnoses. The people of Long Island will see these things in place by the Progressive Liberal Party and not a direct agitation from the member for Long Island. The people of Long Island deserve this. So is everyone in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. And it is a part of the ministry's policy. And your agitation is not causing it, Long Island. It is something that we will do.
This member has been talking about health care services for my island, my constituency, for quite some time, and yet nothing materializes. Let me tell him what has happened during our administration. We got an ambulance donated. There were no medicine shortages. I'm on my feet now, a member, and you'll have your chance. There was an ambulance donated. There were no medicine shortages on the island, none. We had, the clinics were properly staffed. There were no staffing issues. A generator was put at Sims. We had renovations of both, changing doors. In fact, I personally used the constituency fund to change all the lights at the clinic at Sims, for example. No, sir. No, sir. Also, your calculation is wrong. And you spent zero so far. That's what you should be doing. You're the minister. And as for the clinics, Mr. Deputy, as for the clinics notifying A&E for an ambulance to be waiting on my constituents when they come in on the emergency flight, I am certain that the clinics in Long Island always notify A&E and Nassau to send an ambulance to the clinic, to the airport. The ambulance, in recent time, I was told that there was no ambulance to meet an emergency flight coming in from Long Island. As it relates to clinical upgrades, Mr. Deputy, with respect to the IDB, the former minister, Renwood Wells, I was present when he announced a $1.5 million allocation to upgrade the clinic facility in Dedmanski. I have the paperwork to that effect. That would have included lab and diagnostic services, an ambulance bay, and various upgrades to that clinic in Dedmanski. Various upgrades. Also, as it relates to the Roses Clinic, up to last week, there was great resistance. And then, I wouldn't say certain things that I know, but I just want the member to know that there was issues, and Long Islanders have been complaining about staffing at that clinic and Roses. I'm happy to hear him confirm that the nurse that there'll be a nurse who will be coming in, assigned to that particular clinic. No, there's a nurse for that particular clinic. He said that a nurse is coming to deal with the Roses Clinic. He said that we have already done the work. We've taken the constituency fund and renovated the clinic. So the least you could do is provide a nurse to man the clinic. As it relates to doctors, he's talking about another doctor. There are no doctors in Long Island. There's a rotating doctor. Long Island is used to having 2 fixed doctors. There are doctors' residences in Long Island. There's a doctor in the south and there's a doctor in the north. Okay? 2 doctors have traditionally lived in Long Island. Under this administration and the member for Tall Pines' oversight, so far what we have seen, Mr. Deputy, is 1 rotating doctor that cannot service the people of Long Island, and the people of Long Island are suffering as a result. We need 2 doctors for Long Island. That's what I call upon the member for Tall Pines to do, rather than pontificating in this place.
Thank you, honorable member.
Stop pontificating and making empty promises in here.
Yeah, we're gonna get back
I
to
know
the
we're
debate.
going on.
The
We're gonna
chair
go on.
recognizes the honorable member for Tall Pines.
The member for Long Island is running on with rhetoric. I have the facts. I have the facts, and I assure you that as minister, I do not care what minister said, nothing has materialized, and there's no documentation in my ministry to confirm it.
As many, the chair recognizes the honorable member for St. Barnabas.
I got the documents for the IDB.
I have it, I have the IDB documentation. Thank you. I'll send it to you today.
Order,
Thank you very much.
order, members.
And I'll bring it when I come back here. Bring it. I will. I will. I intend to do so.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Speaker.
We can't even get a good doctor. We can't even get 2 doctors. We can't even get 2 doctors in Long Island.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, I rise on behalf of the great people of St. Barnabas, namely the people of Coconut Grove, Black Village, Big Pond, Rock Crusher, and the Oaksfield community, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Grateful, Mr. Deputy Speaker, to be a citizen of the greatest country in the world, and I often say that I don't qualify it as the greatest little nation, but the greatest nation in the world, because, as I often say, Mr. Deputy, that we are a nation, an incubator of purpose and talent, and everywhere where Bahamians are outside of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, that they continue to make a significant difference wherever they may be, whatever country and whatever continent, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Mr. Deputy Speaker, I don't intend to be very long, Mr. Deputy Speaker. As has been stated by members on this side, that we support the amendments, Mr. Deputy Speaker. But before I get into the bill, Mr. Deputy Speaker, and other issues concerning the economy and extension thereof, Mr. Deputy Speaker, there are just a few things, Mr. Deputy Speaker, I'd like to do in the same vein that has been done earlier this morning. Would like, Mr. Deputy Speaker, to offer a happy Mother's Day to my mother, and to my wife, indeed all of the mothers here in Parliament, and of course all of the mothers around the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. We all experience the importance and the significance of mothers to our lives and mothers throughout the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, Mr. Deputy Speaker, and to also offer my continued support to those who, for the first time, may not have their mothers with them on this Mother's Day, Mr. Deputy Speaker. I also wish to offer my condolences to the family of my constituent, Mr. former Senator Rodney Monker, who lives in Black Village. Well, the good thing is, not all of your constituents can support you, and that's okay. That's okay. But there's no doubt, Mr. Deputy Speaker, there's no doubt, Mr. Deputy Speaker, of his contribution to activism in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, and in his very unique way, brought attention to many issues that affect not only persons in his community, but indeed around the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. And, Mr. Deputy Speaker, I also reflect on the passing of the former President of the Senate, Mr. J. Henry Bostwick. And I remember, Mr. Deputy Speaker, I was about 13, 14 years old, and worked at my stepfather's gas station on Shirley Street. And besides having the opportunity to work and make a couple of dollars and appreciate the benefits of having a regiment and routine working, Mr. Deputy Speaker, my stepfather, Mr. H.L. Roll, who's actually a stalwart counselor of the Progressive Liberal Party, oh yeah, don't mix that up, and he'll tell you that. What I enjoyed, Mr. Deputy Speaker, that he was such a great businessman that persons from all walks of life would frequent the service station. Members of the Progressive Liberal Party, members of the Free National Movement, both were patrons of that service station. But I got to meet so many persons who were larger than life, persons at that age who I just heard about or read about in the newspaper. So former Commissioner Rachel Thompson, Kelsey Johnson, Hervis Bain. I put gas in all of these persons' cars as I was pumping gas. And of course, also the member for Angliston's father used to come there as well. And so, you know, my eye was constantly just in awe. I was in awe, and my eye would always open up because these persons would pull up to the gas station just to do a routine thing, get gas in their car. But J. Henry Bostwick, I can tell you that was a unique experience because back then, Mr. Bostwick had one of those Jaguars that had the 2 gas tanks. And I always used to say, you know, for a young man, you would watch a car pull up with 1 tank. But I said, boy, Mr. Bostwick must be a big man because his car got 2 tanks on it. And he would always say, young man, fill up the car. But that started a relationship, Mr. Deputy Speaker, as I had with many of the persons who would come there as I would engage them, where Mr. Bostwick would give me so much advice about politics, even prior to formally getting involved in politics, his view about nation building, his commitment at any opportunity that I asked to talk about the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, and of course, the beloved Free National Movement, Mr. Deputy. So I am grateful, as was said earlier by other members on this side, that we are grateful for his contribution to the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, to the legal fraternity, and indeed to the Free National Movement, Mr. Deputy. Mr. Deputy, also Mr. Deputy, you know, I've said before that my daughters always talk about how much they love the member for Angliston. And so anytime I, every time I pay the member for Angliston a compliment, I'm always in good graces with my daughters, so I think I'm going to continue to do it as best as I can. But truly want to congratulate the member for Angliston and the personnel at the Ministry of Education for the new textbook launch that happened last week on historic government ground, Mr. Deputy. And as you sat there, Mr. Deputy, if you did not understand at that moment or appreciate the profoundness of that moment, you just had to look around and to see Bahamians from all walks of life, Bahamians from both sides of the political aisle, who thought it was necessary and important, Mr. Deputy, for them to be present to acknowledge this new textbook that was written by 12 Bahamian authors and scholars, telling our story in a way that it has not been done before. And I just thought that it was a very unique Bahamian moment, Mr. Deputy. And though this may be refreshing here in this Parliament, I do believe that the member for Angliston and the personnel at the Ministry of Education deserves commendation for such an historic moment for us, Mr. Deputy. Mr. Deputy, Mr. Deputy, Mr. Deputy, Mr. Deputy, Mr. Deputy, this government, elections, Mr. Deputy, elections, Mr. Deputy, are many things, Mr. Deputy, but it's also about choices, Mr. Deputy. And the choice that remains and will continue to remain in this election, Mr. Deputy, is one of two. Do you want things to go continuously as they are? Do you want things to stay the same, or do we need change? Or do you need change, Mr. Deputy? Do we want things, does the status quo remain in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, or do we want change, Mr. Deputy? Mr. Deputy, there has been an issue that reflects, Mr. Deputy, the incompetence of the government in such an unfortunate and profound way, Mr. Deputy, and it's been across our phones, across the front pages of the newspapers, and that is, Mr. Deputy, this issue with the lack of fire equipment in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, Mr. Deputy. Now, Mr. Deputy, I saw the other day a Tribune article that says, Monroe, no indication fire services lack adequate resources to respond. No indication fire services lack adequate resources to respond. This is an unbelievable statement, Mr. Deputy, from the government, that the Minister for National Security says that there's no indication that fire services lack adequate resources to respond. The very fact that the Office of the Prime Minister, Mr. Deputy, acknowledged and said that the airport had to be shut down. Bahamians, listen to this, that the airport, that the Lyndon Pinland International Airport had to be shut down to divert resources to come in to the city should tell you the state of the lack of resources as it relates to fire services. But yet the government says no indication fire services lack adequate resources to respond. The government just even acknowledged that now that they are in the process of purchasing 15 to 20 fire trucks. 15 to 20 fire trucks. But based on what the Minister of National Security said, the member of Freetown, there ain't no problem. So there is a disconnect between the Office of the Prime Minister and the member for Freetown as it relates to fire services and the need for equipment. There are now only 3 fire trucks operational right now on the island of New Providence. 3 fire trucks. If there's any indication of how the government has fallen down and failed on the basic needs of the Bahamian people, it is this issue, Mr. Deputy, this issue. Again, without doing any research, just trust your eyes on what you've seen over the last week, 2 weeks as it relates to fire services. But yet the honorable member says, no indication fire services lack adequate resources to respond. So what the government is saying to you is, don't believe your lying eyes, just trust what we are saying. But clearly the Bahamian people know that we have a problem, and Bahamians have been offering their views on what they see. What they see is the government's lack of commitment to ensuring that the fire services in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas is adequate enough to ensure to protect property and life in a real, effective, and efficient way, Mr. Deputy. No ladder trucks to reach tall buildings as was necessary. That happened at Bay Street, Mr. Deputy. So again, well, you know, the honorable members could make light of the situation with fires, but I trust and hope that he would tell his colleague to get it together as it relates to fire services in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, Mr. Deputy. So, Mr. Deputy, I also, Mr. Deputy, would like to talk as I get into the bill, actually, about this issue of banking. This issue of banking in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas and these unbanked areas that continues to be an issue. The member for Long Island has constantly talked about it. Members on this side has talked about it. The need for us to ensure that our people have access to adequate banking services, particularly in the Family Islands. And I note, Mr. Deputy, you know, we remind this government that you've not come into government and the standard for you isn't what the other fella didn't do. The standard for you is constantly, what have you promised the people that you would deliver on? And as a consequence, what have you not delivered on? Because at the end of the day, when do the Bahamian peoples go to the polls very shortly? They're not judging you on the previous administration. They're judging you on your own words, Mr. Deputy. So, Mr. Deputy, the blueprint for pain, Mr. Deputy, the blueprint for pain on page 35, 34, commercial bank licenses. And it says, we will encourage the central bank to grant commercial bank licenses to Bahamians, groups of Bahamians. We are committed to Bahamianizing the sector with a view to empowerment. We are also committed to finding solutions for the unbanked Family Islands. This is the government's promise to the people of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, and in particular those people in the Family Islands. We are also committed to finding solutions for the unbanked Family Islands, Mr. Deputy. Mr. Deputy, on this issue, as is the case with many other issues, the government continues to fail the Bahamian people, and in this case, Mr. Deputy, the people in the Family Islands, Mr. Deputy. It is an issue, Mr. Deputy, that we must do everything we can to strategize, to speak to these banks. Yes, we understand that it's not profitable for the banks, but the Free National Movement has made recommendations in terms of ways to partner with the banks to ensure that we have banking services along with up-to-date technology, because these banking services, Mr. Deputy, are vitally important, Mr. Deputy, because they enable businesses to expand, Mr. Deputy, attract investments for crucial economic development. It ensures that the residents can manage the finances to save and invest. It allows them to really focus on financial literacy, Mr. Deputy. So, Mr. Deputy, something must be done. And at the end of the day, when you strip away the rhetoric and the politics, what matters most, Mr. Deputy, is ultimately when Bahamians wake up every day, when they get out of their beds after saying their prayers. How are they able to live? What happens when they open their refrigerator? What happens when they sit at their table? How much does gas cost when they go in the car? And in this case, if they live on the Family Islands, how are they able to take advantage of banking services? And as an extension, Mr. Deputy, how do they plan for the future with the lack of banking services on their particular island that is key to economic growth on the Family Islands and elsewhere, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Mr. Deputy, also, Mr. Deputy, we talk about the economy, Mr. Deputy. Now, the member for Exuma did highlight this morning some of the, let's just say, the good numbers, and we appreciate those numbers. Of course, any beneficial economic numbers is good for the Bahamian people. But there clearly is a problem, Mr. Deputy, and we trust and hope, the Bahamian people trust and hope that the member for Exuma, in his capacity as the Minister of Tourism, is coming up with a strategic plan, Mr. Deputy, to deal with this issue of decreasing stopover visitors to the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, Mr. Deputy. And so, Mr. Deputy, we want to remind the honorable member that besides the airport, that doesn't seem to be experiencing any kind of serious progress, besides no sale of the hotel that they promised, Mr. Deputy, we have an issue now of losing stopover visitors, Mr. Deputy. Not to mention, Mr. Deputy, that there is an issue of losing airlift from certain areas. And so we trust and hope that the government, the Minister of Tourism, and the government has a strategic plan to deal with these issues, because all of these things affect the economic growth of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, Mr. Deputy. And so we hope that they can truly provide us with answers, Mr. Deputy. Mr. Deputy, this particular bill, the Executive Entities Amendment Bill and Banks and Trust Companies Regulation, as has been stated, these bills are vitally important to shoring up the financial services apparatus in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, Mr. Deputy, ensuring that we enhance regulatory framework and making sure that we are in alignment with global standards, and that the central bank also will have direct regulatory oversight, Mr. Deputy. But, Mr. Deputy, every time we talk about changes, improvements to the financial services structure in our country, though it's very important that we ensure to adapt and to adjust to these international standards, Mr. Deputy, we have to continue to demand fair application, Mr. Deputy, just like other jurisdictions, Mr. Deputy. We know that many persons, and I'll say it again, they don't want us in this business. They want to keep their foot on the necks of the Bahamian people. They want to keep us, Mr. Deputy, far from trying to diversify our economies. And the amazing thing, Mr. Deputy, and I do have to say it, and it's been said in many different ways, Mr. Deputy, that this financial services is something that small island development, the developing states, Mr. Deputy, are proud of, because it shows successful economic development strategies, Mr. Deputy. And it forms well with the commitment to developing our people and our countries. Mr. Deputy, interesting, you know, there's a Declaration of the Right to Develop by the United Nations. And in Article 2, Mr. Deputy, it says that states have the right and duty to formulate appropriate national development policy that aim at the constant improvement of the entire population, Mr. Deputy. So as we, Mr. Deputy, and hats off, Mr. Deputy, hats off and commendation to the professional in the financial services industry in our country, because every time something is thrown at us, we embrace it and we find ways to still be competitive in the world, even while these multilateral bodies and so forth, Mr. Deputy, like I said, continue to find ways to move the goalposts. So we continue to say to them, as we adjust and as we be nimble, we continue to say to them, take your foot off our necks. Let our people live, Mr. Deputy. And I believe, Mr. Deputy, that the professionals in the financial services industry will continue to be diligent, will continue to try to be ahead of the curve, but we must not miss the opportunity, government as a people, to remind these persons that we want fair application and that our commitment to the financial services industry is based on innovation, based on our integrity, and there is not some sinister plot by small island developing nations. This is an economic strategy that small island developing nations have embraced. And so just as it's considered in other jurisdictions, an aspect of their economy, it's the same for us, and even more so because of the challenges and the needs that we have as smaller nations, Mr. Deputy. Mr. Deputy, the issue as it relates to these bills, I mean, the member for East Grand Bahama would have elucidated, as he always does, very well on the technical aspect of these amendments and how important they are. Again, we support these pieces of legislation, Mr. Deputy. We hope that as we go along, we can continue again to be nimble enough, strategic enough, and focused enough, Mr. Deputy, to ensure that we make our financial services products even stronger and even more valuable, Mr. Deputy, as persons come to the Bahamas and focus on wealth management and alike, Mr. Deputy. And so we support this bill, Mr. Deputy. And as I wrap up, Mr. Deputy, one other thing I would like to mention, Mr. Deputy. We talked about the fire services, Mr. Deputy, and the honorable member saying that there's adequate supplies and so forth. Mr. Deputy, we are at 30 murders in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, 30 murders. And I know persons often, when they hear us, their first inclination, if you will, is to say, oh, it's about politics. The truth is, there's 30 murders in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. We continue to have a problem, Mr. Deputy. What is the government's response to it? Unless the government is saying that they're throwing up their hands and waving the white flag, what is the strategic position of the government as it relates to this increase of murder in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas? It isn't sufficient to say, let me do it this way. When issues come up in our country, the government's duty is to respond. Even if the government has to say, this is very challenging, but we are doing A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. We don't hear to any degree that brings a level of confidence, to any degree that brings a level of confidence to the Bahamian people, that the government seems to have a realistic, comprehensive plan, not only to deal with our reaction and response to the present situation as it relates to the increase of gun violence, but again, as we've often said, even more important, what are we doing to ensure that the young man or young woman who's in primary school and junior high school doesn't become either a criminal 25 years later or a victim, Mr. Deputy? What is our multi-layered approach that we are going to ensure that we implement, that where we prepare for the future? Because again, I'd say again, we could build the largest prison in the region, and we will not be able to house the amount of people who will be in prison if we do not deal with this fundamental issue of why there's so much gun violence, why there's so much conflict, Mr. Deputy. A government's job, Mr. Deputy, no matter what they say and how they talk about it, it ain't about blaming the F&M. Because the truth is, ultimately, the judge of the electoral process is called the Bahamian people. They made that judgment in 2021. But oh, here comes the next election. And now they're about to put the judgment on this government about what they promised, about what they haven't done, about what they said they would do and have not excelled at, Mr. Deputy. It ain't about us, it's about what y'all have promised the Bahamian people. Y'all, I'm a member of an organization that says excuses are tools of incompetence that build monuments of nothingness, and those that use them seldom achieve anything. Excuses, excuses, excuses. We tell the government when it was 4 of them. I give an Angliston credit today. This a give Angliston credit day. That's what day this is. She would always say, yeah, it's for us. You all think we just making noise for us. We are, paraphrasing, we are sharing what the Bahamian people feel. And what I'm saying to this government is the Bahamian people have lost trust in this government on many different issues. They don't believe that the government has their interests at heart, Mr. Deputy. And Mr. Deputy, on election day, I will remind the members opposite and all my friends on that side. As I wrap up, Mr. Deputy, I met a young man on Southern Recreation Ground at the launch of the new Bahamian textbook. And he saw me talking to members on the government side and sharing a moment about the ceremony and the importance of it. The young man came to me afterwards and he said, man, Mr. Cartwright, I saw you talking with so-and-so. I think I was talking with the member for Pinewood. And he said, I saw you talking to so-and-so. Say, Mr. Cartwright, say, y'all could tell the Bahamian people that y'all are all family and friends, And I said, you know what? I asked him his name, and I wouldn't call his name. I said, you are right. I said, the Parliament of the Bahamas is no different from any other organization, church, Junkanoo, you name it, a business in corporate Bahamas. And I said, we are all family and friends, right? We are all family and friends. All, even members of the Central Grand Bahamas Party, COI. Yeah, no, Central Grand Bahama, all right? We're all family and friends. We could say that. This is a small country. Who don't believe that we don't have friends on the other sides? Some families have, some people vote F&M, some vote PLP. And I guess some will vote, I say plenty. But the point I just said to the young man, and I will say here and I will end here, that while we have relationships, we disagree on who is best to govern the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Pinewood is my good friend. The member for Cardinals used to coach me night league. He used to fuss me out when I shot too much, but we know how that goes. He used to coach me. The member for Angliston knows my family real well, and I could go on and on and on, knowing the member for Yamacraw a long time. I just believe that they've signed on to the wrong policies, and the policies they've signed on is bad for the people of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, and that they should be voted out of office. That has nothing to do with the relationships. So on behalf of the Bahamian people, we tell this government, your time is up. You've been out of touch and out of lockstep with the Bahamian people. An election is coming. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The Chair recognizes the Honourable Member for Freetown.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. The member for Centerville is just tabling the article he indicated. Mr. Deputy Speaker, thank you very much. I rise to wrap up the debate on this matter. And Mr. Deputy, as usual, we've had a debate about much that had nothing to do with the bills before us. But at least people think there is some agreement. I would remind St. Barnabas that the prognostications about being out of touch with the Bahamian people, being doomed at an election, predates the presence of the current member for West Grand Bahama and Bimini with us. They were telling us this before Mr. Kingsley Smith soundly defeated the FNM and their candidate, worse than Mr. O.B. Wilshcombe, had defeated the FNM and their candidate at the general election. You see, Mr. Deputy Speaker, the reality of the matter is simply this. Elections which are due in 2026 are about a choice. And the choice is very simply defined. And the member for Kalani gave us a very good example of it. It's defined by a party that plans and dreams about feeding poor people, and one that actually does it. They had grand plans of feeding everyone all of the time and managed to feed no one. And so, Mr. Deputy Speaker, the breakfast program, which the member for Kalani lauds, is not enough, and it's acknowledged that it is not enough, but it is more than they did. And that is, in essence, the choice. They speak about policies, and they talk about energy, and the only energy policies have ever been advanced by a PLP administration. And they sit and dream and think, and we do. That is the choice that will face the Bahamian people. And you know, Mr. Deputy Speaker, the motto is that we seek to wipe every tear from every eye, which is an indication that it is an ongoing mission. It is a mission that continues. It is a mission that the Bahamian people will judge based on what they do compared to what we do, because that is what, in essence, the choice is. And so, Mr. Deputy Speaker, I would not go into an evaluation at length of who upped the inventory of many essential matters to address problems in this country, but suffice it to say that a comparison of the persons up in 2026 as is mandated will speak for itself in human capital and hardware. It will speak quite eloquently.
The chair recognizes the honourable member for St. Barnabas.
Mr. Deputy, the member for Freetown talks about human capital, Mr. Deputy. The officers, the reserve officers in Grand Bahama as we speak, have not been paid since February.
What's the question?
Have not
on
been
human
paid
capital?
since February.
What's the
Many of the people in the uniformed services are talking about reservists, are talking about them not being paid. Your job, honorable member, and this government's job is to make sure that the people who protect us, those officers in Grand Bahama, those reservists, get paid. So no matter how you talk about what you're talking about now, this is what is real. See, all the talk respectfully that you've given just now, there are people, officers in Grand Bahama right now, reserve officers, that have not been paid since February. And what the Bahamian people think is, you know what they say to themselves? I sure the members of Parliament got their salary, but the people, the police officers have not gotten their salary. That is something to fix.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, the member for St. Barnabas, as he's supposed to be shadowing me, would know that reservists don't earn salaries. It's very fundamental. He's supposed to be shadowing me. He could perhaps find out the details. And when he met together with the rest of the FNM caucus, with the Commissioner of Police and the senior executive leadership team, right after I had met with them, and when he next meets with them, he can get edification that reservists do not earn salaries. But even on that, Mr. Deputy Speaker, it is this ability to try to deflect from resource issues. And so that's just very simple. They plan, we do. And you know, Mr. Deputy Speaker, the next amazing thing about it is regardless of how they fix their mouth to talk about doom and gloom, they will say, Exuma and Ragged Island, you only added $2 million cruise passengers. 4 million cruise passengers spending about $140 each. And it's as if they can't do the maths, because they always say the math ain't mathing, to multiply 4 million by $149 to work out how much extra into the coffers that is. But a quick method I would suggest to them that I was taught. If you round 140 to 150, and then you times it by 4, 4 times 0 is 0, 4 plus 5 is 20. Is you put the 0, you carry the 2, and that's $600 million, which if you want to talk in billions, is 0.6 of $1 billion.
The chair recognizes the honourable member for St. Barnabas.
The member for Freetown, we can't continue to insult the Bahamian people in this way as we have these national debates. I challenge, you know why the member for Exuma, who's the Minister of Tourism, no, I could call your name. You know why the Minister of Tourism, he will not get up and say, it's okay if stopover visitors numbers continue to decrease while cruise ship passengers increase, because he knows that that is a recipe for disaster. So let us not downplay the fact that stopover visitors are declining, okay? Let's not downplay that, because like I said, the Minister of Tourism wouldn't stand up and say that that is a good thing. And so maybe the member for Freetown, who's the Minister of National Security, he's already having a challenge with national security issues. He needs to stay on the tourism issues.
People who can't get the math to math would benefit from seeing how it's done. And you know, Mr. Deputy Speaker, they never seem to want to admit what my late friend Rodney Monka used to call what foreign white people admit about us. And the significance that Brother Monka put on foreign white people's view is that it's not supposed to be myopic, one side or the other. But the foreign white people from the IMF called our recovery, managed by this government, remarkable. And you know, they can't get the math to math, so I think they may be having challenges with the English as well. And so for their edification, I will read the dictionary similes to remarkable, and then the antonyms. Words that are similar to remarkable, Mr. Deputy Speaker, are extraordinary, exceptional, amazing, astonishing, astounding, marvelous, wonderful, sensational, stunning, incredible, unbelievable, miraculous, phenomenal, prodigious, striking, outstanding, momentous, impressive, singular, preeminent, memorable, unforgettable, unique, eye-catching, conspicuous, noteworthy, notable, great, considerable, distinctive, is there more? Important, distinguished, prominent, out of the ordinary, unusual, uncommon, rare, surprising, curious, strange, odd, peculiar, uncanny, fantastic, terrific, tremendous, stupendous, awesome, and this is one, amazing balls. That's a young people's expression. Out of the world, unreal, wondrous. Now, the opposite of remarkable are ordinary, commonplace, run of the mill. So regardless of how they seek to characterize it, remarkable speaks for itself. And when they talk about the small percentage upgrade in our economic performance, when everybody else was being downgraded, it's as if they don't understand what the meaning of remarkable is. I hope after that edification, they nor the Bahamian people have any doubt about how the performance of this government was rated. As my friend, Brother Monka would say, according to these foreign white people who don't know me, who don't know my mummy, who don't know my daddy. At this time, Mr. Deputy, I'll have to move for the House to continue beyond 1 p.m.
Is there a seconder?
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that the business of the House do continue beyond 1 p.m. As many as are in favor will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. The motion is carried. The business of the House will continue beyond the 1 p.m. hour.
And so, Mr. Deputy Speaker, I think that when one, and I would submit and contend, that when one puts it in its context, that is what is objectively said about the performance of this government, that speaks for itself. But, you know, Mr. Deputy Speaker, they really think election in September. That's what I heard Marco City say. And what's so amazing about that is but you know what's so amazing about that, Mr. Deputy Speaker? No. If they really believe election was in September, and St. Barnabas ain't decide where he going, because he ain't gonna stay in St. Barnabas to get what coming to him. I know St. Anne's will stay in St. Anne's, but I doubt that St. Barnabas and Marco City have the testicular fortitude to stay in those constituencies. I hope not. I hope not. And so let's assume they stay where they are, Mr. Deputy Speaker. They haven't announced anybody else except saying Kalani ain't getting no nomination and Central Grand Bahama ain't getting no nomination. But one would think, Mr. Deputy Speaker, that if they truly believed the election was in September, they would announce their candidates unless that's the nature of governance that they're promising us. And so, Mr. Deputy Speaker, their reaction seems to be trying to exploit a moment. That is not what leadership is about. But that is what they continually seek to do. And all I would say, Mr. Deputy Speaker, as we say when we litigate matters in court, I put down a marker for the Bahamian people as to everything they say when they say it, because that will be judged through the prism of history. And the prism of history. Mr. Deputy Speaker. Oh, man, what you running on with?
The chair recognizes the honorable member for St. Barnabas.
You know, the member for Freetown is a KC. The Deputy Speaker recognized me. Well, you can find out right now. Mr. Deputy Speaker, the member for Freetown has gotten up and waxed eloquently. But you notice he has not responded to this, where his words are in contradiction with the office of the Prime Minister, where he says that fire services, no indication that fire services lack adequate resources to respond, but yet the office of the Prime Minister, through what they've articulated, disagrees. So instead of the member waxing on other stuff, why doesn't he talk about stuff in his ministry? Talk about this Freetown, how do you address this issue, and what has been happening across New Providence, what is happening in the Family Islands and in Grand Bahama. You are the Minister of National Security. Answer this, sir. Answer this.
You know, Mr. Deputy Speaker, if the member for St. Barnabas was listening very carefully, he would have understood what we talked about, leadership not being shown by seeking to exploit a current crisis. And so, Mr. Deputy Speaker, as I was proceeding to say before he jumped to his feet, it will be judged through the prism of history. And so this attitude that the election is tomorrow or next month or September, so we can say whatever we wish to say to seek to take advantage of a momentary crisis will be judged by the prism of history. At an appropriate time, I will give him the English to those words, because there are many of them. And so, Mr. Deputy Speaker, the reality of it is they seek to denigrate remarkable, and they can't. And they seek to set it up as a one-person competition, as he tried to do. But it's a choice. And the persons will make a choice based on what they see happen. And with regard to this legislation, Mr. Deputy Speaker, as I move to it, the reality is we're compliant on 40 of the 40 recommendations. We seek to remain so, and we take steps to do so. And when we revert back on the order of business, Mr. Deputy Speaker, it will be seen that we continue to make steps to do so. The fundamental principle of whether we should have gotten on this road in 2001 is a horse that has long since left the barn and cannot be returned. And so we're bound on this journey to continue to meet these uneven odds while the Attorney General continues to lobby the UN to seek to address it in an equitable manner, which is something that this government initiated. And so we will be judged on what we do and not what they plan but never do. Amen. And that will be the very simple choice in 2026. And so, Mr. Deputy Speaker, there being no contention about the necessity of these bills, Freetown is pleased to second these bills and ask that you put the question.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Order that the documents do lie on the table. Yeah, that's right there. It has been moved and seconded that the following bill be read a second time and committed. A bill for an act to amend the Executive Entities Act to provide for regulations of certain executive entities for the Central Bank of the Bahamas and for matters incidental thereto. As many as are in favor will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. Order that the bill be read a second time and committed.
A bill for an act to amend the Executive Entities Act to provide for the regulation of certain executive entities by the Central Bank of the Bahamas and for matters incidental thereto.
Thank you. Further second reading of bills?
No further second
One more.
read. Oh, sorry, that's just the one that he did. Sorry. I'd move for the second reading and committal of the Bank and Trust Companies Regulation Amendment Bill 2025.
Is there a seconder?
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that the following bill be read a second time and committed. A bill for an act to amend the Banks and Trust Companies Regulations Act to provide for the regulations of executive entities for the Central Bank of the Bahamas and for matters incidental thereto. As many as are in favor will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. Order that the bill be read a second time and committed.
Banks and Trust Companies Regulation Act to provide for the regulation of executive entities by the Central Bank of the Bahamas and for matters incidental thereto.
Thank you, honorable members. Committee. Yeah.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, I now move that the House to dissolve itself into the Committee of the Whole with the member for Central Grand Bahama in the chair.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that the House to now resolve itself with the member of Central Grand Bahama in the chair. As many as are in favor will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. The motion is carried. I don't, yeah, okay.
Committee of the Whole.
Mr. Chairman, the Executive Entities Amendment Bill, I move that the long title of the bill be agreed.
It's been moved and seconded that the long title of the bill be agreed. As many are in favor, remain seated. Those opposed, please stand. The long title of the bill is agreed.
I now move. I now move. I now move. I now move that clause 1, the short title of the bill, be agreed.
Second. It's been moved and seconded that clause 1 of the short title of the bill be agreed. As many remain seated. Those opposed, please stand. The short title is agreed.
I now move that clause 2 of the bill be agreed.
Second. It has been moved and seconded that clause 2 of the bill be agreed. As many as in favor remain seated. Those opposed, kindly stand. Clause 2 of the bill is agreed.
I now move that the bill in its entirety be agreed.
Second.
There are only 2 clauses.
It has been moved and seconded that the bill in its entirety be agreed. As many as are in favor remain seated. Those opposed, kindly stand. The bill in its entirety has been agreed.
Now the Bank and Trust Companies Regulation Amendment Bill 2025. I move that the long title of the bill be agreed.
Second. It has been moved and seconded that the long title of the bill be agreed. As many as in favor remain seated. Those opposed, stand.
I now move, Mr. Chairman, that clauses 1 to 6 of the bill be agreed.
Second. It's been moved and seconded that clauses 1 through 6 has been agreed. As many as in favor remain seated. Those opposed, stand. It has been agreed that clause 1 through 6 has been agreed.
I now move that the bill in its entirety be agreed.
Second. It has been moved and seconded that the bill in its entirety be agreed. All those in favor remain seated. Those opposed, stand. The bill in its entirety has been agreed.
I now move that the House do resume with the Deputy Speaker in the chair.
Second. It's been moved and seconded that the Deputy Speaker now resume the chair. As many are in favor remain seated. All those opposed, stand. The Deputy Speaker will now resume the chair. Mr. Deputy, I'm happy to agree that the two bills has been agreed by the House with no objections.
Thank you, Honorable Member for Central and Grand Bahama. That was very historic. Honorable members, the chairman of the committee of the whole has reported the committee has examined several bills making no amendments thereto. Third reading and passing of bills.
I now move for the third reading and passing of the Executive Entities Bill. Sorry. Executive Entities Amendment Bill.
That's corrected.
Yep, better bill. Oh. Yeah, this one. Is there a seconder? It has been moved and seconded that the following bill be read a third time and passed. The Executives Entities Amendment Bill 2025. As many as are in favor will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. Order that the bill be read a third time and pass.
A bill for an act to amend the Executive Entities Act to provide for the regulation of certain executive entities by the Central Bank of the Bahamas and for matters incidental thereto.
For the third reading. Order that this bill do now pass, and the title therefore to be the Executive Entities Amendment Bill 2025. Amendment Act 2025. Further third reading.
I now move for the third reading and passing of the Bank and Trust Companies Regulation Amendment Bill 2025.
Second?
It has been moved and seconded that the following bill be read a third time and passed. The Banks and Trust Companies Regulations Amendment Bill 2025. As many as are in favor will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. Order that the bill be read a third time and pass.
A bill for an act to amend the Banks and Trust Companies Regulations Act to provide for the regulation of executive entities by the Central Bank of the Bahamas and for matters incidental thereto.
Order that this bill do now pass and the title therefore declared to be Banks and Trust Companies Regulations Amendment Bill 2025.
You have the Senate amendment too, right? You have a Senate amendment as well. Mr. Deputy Speaker, I have spoken with the leaders of the other two parties in the House. And we have unanimous consent to revert back on the order of business to first reading of bills.
I can trust you if I better let you, but
Anand, who is leader of opposition, of the business of the loyal opposition, and Central Grand Bahama.
Honorable Member for Senance, do you have any objections?
We have no objections.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Member for Central Grand Bahama, do you have any objections? Thank you, Honorable Members. Oh, yeah, the chair recognizes the Honorable Member for Exuma and Ragged Island.
Communications, Mr. Deputy, and before I lay a series of bills, I ask your indulgence for a short communication as it relates thereto. Mr. Deputy, for decades, we have been discussing land reform legislation in our country. And today, we are pleased to table the Land Adjudication Bill 2025 and the Land Registration Bill 2025. We are one step closer to introducing major land reforms to the Bahamas. This has been a long time in the making, and for many, many years, we have allowed this issue to linger as properties throughout our nation have existed without clear titles, leading to disputes, making businesses hesitant to expand and investors reluctant to build on land without clear titles. Throughout the years, many people have given up on the fight for their land because they lack the funds to win the case in court. It's no secret that those with deep pockets, supported by clever attorneys, have figured out ways to influence outcomes in their favor by taking advantage of the broken, chaotic system. We are putting an end to these injustices. The bills we are tabling today represents meaningful progress in our quest to create more just outcomes for Bahamians when it comes to land ownership. The Land Adjudication Bill 2025 will introduce an adjudication process to officially determine ownership of disputed land. A qualified adjudicator supported by assessors, demarcators, and records officers will visit communities, mark boundaries, hear claims, examine evidence, and resolve disputes through a fair land tribunal process. This will fully determine ownership claims and allow for the land to be properly registered with clarity. The registration of land will be facilitated by the Registered Land Act 2025, which establishes a modern land registry where every parcel of land gets a unique identification number. Owners will then be issued certificates representing definitive proof of ownership. When these bills are debated, passed, and implemented, we will have land adjudicators officially clarifying ownership rights once and for all, as well as land tribunals hearing disputes and making their decisions based on the facts. We will bring clarity to the registration of land, creating one official record that is set in stone as we move from a deed-based system to a modern title-based system. This means no more overlapping claims, no more uncertainty of ownership that lasts for years, and no more landowners stuck in limbo, unable to sell, transfer, or get a mortgage because of disputed land. We will replace the broken system with a new framework that promotes security and confidence, allows for greater access to information through public searches of land records, grants unimpeded access to credit on formerly disputed land, and solves ongoing land disputes. Mortgages and property sales will be processed faster. Developments will move forward with certainty. Parents will confidently pass land on to their children, and inheritance disputes can finally be resolved. This reform is a mandatory step in the direction of fairness and justice. The longer we delay, the more people are harmed by the injustices of our broken system. We must now expedite this process. Bahamians have been crying out for land reform since the 1960s. That is when the first white paper on reforms was produced. I can't imagine the authors of that white paper believed that we would still be facing the same issues as a nation in 2025. This is and has been unacceptable. Whilst we changed the exorbitant amount of time it has taken successive administrations to take real action on land reforms, what we can do is commit to changing the status quo to create a fair system for everyone. We will choose action where our predecessors chose inaction. And in doing so, we will help Bahamian families to safeguard their inheritance, help businesses to expand without worry that someday they will lose their property, and help investors to make decisions with assurance that the land they will build their enterprises on will not create future issues. I'm sure anyone who's been caught up in a land dispute in our court system welcomes this change. Mr. Deputy, we've consulted widely to ensure we have the best version of these bills before us today. And I thank the Honorable Attorney General, the Attorney General's Office, the Land Reform Committee, and the many stakeholders who supported our work to bring us to this point. And now that land reform is imminent, we must keep the momentum going as we prepare to debate these bills in the House. After all these years of waiting, the Bahamian people deserve for these reforms to become a reality as soon as possible, and we are committed to ensuring that happens. So, Mr. Deputy, whilst they talk, we do. And I am delighted to be able to lay these bills today with your leave, Mr. Deputy.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Order that communications be brought up. First reading of bills.
Mr. Deputy.
One minute. Order that the communications do lie on the table. The chair recognizes the Honourable Member for Exome and Ragged Island.
Mr. Deputy, I beg leave to introduce and have read for the first time a copy of the following: the Registered Land Bill 2025.
Yeah, I need the paper. I need the bill. Is there a seconder? Okay, this just one? Just this one? Okay, okay. It has been moved and seconded that the following bill be read a first time and tabled. A bill for an act to make provisions for the registration of titles to land and for lease dealings in land so registered and for purposes connected therewith. As many as are in favor will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. The motion is carried. Order that the bill be read a first time and tabled.
A bill for an act to make provision for the registration of titles to land and for dealings in lands so registered for purposes connected.
For the first readings,
I beg leave to introduce and have read for the first time the Land Adjudication Bill 2025.
it has been moved and seconded that the following bill be read a first time and tabled. Land Adjudication Bill 2025. As many as are in favor will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. The motion is carried. Order that the bill be read for first time and tabled.
A bill for an act to provide for systematic adjudication of rights and interests in land within the Bahamas, the demarcation of boundaries and matters connected therewith.
For the first readings,
Deputy, I beg leave further to lay 3 additional bills. I'll do them one at a time, of course. Firstly, the Trustee Amendment Bill 2025.
is there a seconder? It has been moved and seconded that the following bill be read a first time and tabled. The Trustee Amendment Bill 2025. As many as are in favor will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. The motion is carried. Order that the bill be read a first time and tabled.
A bill for an act to amend the Trustee Act.
First readings.
Mr. Deputy, I introduce and have read for the first time the Financial Transaction Reporting Amendment Bill 2025.
Is there a seconder? It has been moved and seconded that the following bill be read a first time and tabled. Financial Transactions Reporting Amendment Bill 2025. As many as are in favor will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. The motion is carried. Order that the bill be read a first time and tabled.
A bill for an act to amend the Financial Transactions Reporting Act, Number 5 of 2018.
For the first readings, the chair recognizes the honorable member for Exome and Ragged Island.
And finally, Mr. Speaker, I introduce and read for the first time Banks and Trust Companies Regulation Amendment Number 2, Bill 2025.
Is there a seconder? It has been moved and seconded that the following bill be read the first time and tabled. Banks and Trust Companies Regulation Amendment Number 2, Bill 2025. As many as are in favor will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. Order that the bill be read a first time and tabled.
A bill for an act to amend the Banks and Trust Companies Regulation Act.
Thank you. For the first readings, the chair recognizes the honorable member for Freetown.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, I rise to move for the first reading and tabling of 6 bills. The first is the International Bill for an Act to amend the International Business Companies Act.
Is there a seconder? Thank you. It has been moved and seconded that the following bill be read a first time and tabled. International Business Companies Amendment Bill 2025. As many as are in favor will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. The motion is carried. Order that the bill be read a first time and tabled.
A bill for an act to amend the International Business Companies Act, Chapter 309.
For the first
The
readings,
second is a bill for an act to amend the Non-Profit Organization Act.
Second.
it has been moved and seconded that the following bill be read a first time and tabled. Nonprofit Organizations Amendment Bill 2025. As many as are in favor will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. The motion is carried. Order that the bill be read a first time and tabled.
A bill for an act to amend the Non-Profit Organizations Act, Number 25 of 2019.
First readings.
I'd move for the first reading and tabling of a bill for an act to amend the Register of Beneficial Ownership Act.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that the following bill be read a first time and tabled. Register of Beneficial Ownership Amendment Bill 2025. As many as are in favor will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. The motion is carried. Order that the bill be read a first time and tabled.
A bill for an act to amend the Register of Beneficial Ownership Act, number 38 of 2018.
Further first readings.
And I move for the first reading and tabling of a bill for an act to amend the Companies Act.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that the following bill be read a first time and tabled. Companies Amendment Bill 2025. As many as are in favor will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. Order that the bill be read a first time and tabled.
A bill for an act to amend the Companies Act, Chapter 308.
Further first readings.
And I move for the first reading and tabling of a bill for an act to amend the Proceeds of Crime Act.
Second.
Thank you. It has been moved and seconded that the following bill be read a first time and tabled. Proceeds of Crime Amendment Bill 2025. As many as are in favor will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. The motion is carried. Order that this bill be read a first time and tabled.
A bill for an act to amend the Proceeds of Crime Act, number 4 of 2018.
Further first readings.
And I move for the first reading and tabling of a bill for an act to amend the Arbitration Act.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that the following bill be read a first time and tabled. Arbitration Amendment Bill 2025. As many as are in favor will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. The motion is carried. Order that this bill be read a first time and tabled.
A bill for an act to amend the Arbitration Act.
Usher. Further first readings.
No further first readings.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Second reading and committal of bills.
No further second reading and committal.
Committee of the Whole. Third reading and passing of bills.
No further third reading and passing.
Consideration of Senate amendments. Resolutions. Appointments of select committees. Notices for future meetings. The chair recognizes the honorable member for Central Grand Bahama.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Speaker. First of all, let me say thank you to the governing party for allowing me to sit in the chair today. It speaks to maturity. It speaks to democracy, real maturity and democracy. Yes. And I want to say how special the moment was for me because today my son would have been 33 years old. So today he's in heaven celebrating his 33rd birthday, so it's historic to me. Mr. Deputy, I rise today on behalf of the Coalition of Independents and the people of Central Grand Bahama to give notice of my intention to table a bill at the next sitting of this honorable House. The bill entitled the Bahamas National Fire and Rescue Services Act 2025 seeks to establish an independent modern and fully resourced fire department separated and apart from the Royal Bahamas Police Force. Mr. Speaker, in recent months, our nation has been plagued by devastating fires. From wildfires across Grand Bahama, Abaco, to major urban blazes in the capital that was spoken to earlier this morning by others, these fires have laid bare the urgent need to reform and strengthen our national firefighting capacity. This legislation will create a standalone Bahamas National Fire and Rescue Services with its own leadership and budget, equip every major inhabited island with modern fire trucks, proper equipment, and trained personnel, introduce aerial firefighting capability for the first time in our history with water bombers, aircraft for tackling wildfires, reopen and refurbish dormant fire stations currently attached to police facilities, empower firefighters with investigative and enforcement authority and ability to support the police force in national emergencies. Importantly, the bill proposes funding avenues through the government's new carbon credit program, linking fire prevention to climate resilience and economic opportunity. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Deputy, this is not just a policy decision, it's a matter of national safety, sovereignty, and preparedness. So I look forward to the support of my colleagues on both sides of this honorable House as we work together to protect the lives, property, and environment of every Bahamian. Thank you, Mr. Deputy.
Order that the notices be brought up. Okay. The chair recognizes the honorable member for Freetown.
I renew all notices in the name of the government.
Thank you, honorable member. The chair recognizes the honorable member for St. Barnabas.
Yes, Deputy Speaker, I renew all notices in the name of the opposition.
Thank you, honorable member. Before we adjourn, I would just like to say a happy Mother's Day to my mom. You are the best. And to my wife and to all the mothers in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, and especially to the mothers of the Northern Lutra constituency. I love you, and I love you, and I love you all. Yes? Yeah. Be done, pass that. I ain't asking y'all, I telling you. The chair recognizes the honorable member for Freetown.
For
Be in final adjournment. Be adjournment. Adjournment?
Mr. Deputy Speaker, the House, I would move that the House on its rising do adjourn to Wednesday, May the 14th at 10 a.m. And Mr. Deputy Speaker, as we will be past the 10th of May, I would remind all members and all Bahamians that May 10th is the HMBS Flamingo Memorial Observation. There'll be wreath laying at the Cenotaph in the city of Nassau at 8 a.m. on Saturday the 10th, and on board HMBS Coral Harbor at 10 a.m. on Saturday. And this will be preceded by the change of command parade, which I hope all members of the House have been invited to, for tomorrow at 10 a.m. on board HMBS Coral Harbor. Members are asked to arrive by 9:20. The 14th of May at 10 a.m., Mr. Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, honorable member. The chair recognizes the honorable member for North Andros. Member.
I see member Pinewood trying to distract me. Yeah, talk fast. No, we're on the same page. Don't do that. Thank you, Deputy. I just want to bring a few things to attention to the House. Of course, condolences to the Monka family and the Boswick family quickly. In my constituency, the Walks family, and also the Taylor family. However, I also want to say a quick thank you publicly to all those that give their sympathy to the Lightbourne family. My granddad, Kendall Lightbourne Sr., will be laid to rest this Friday at 11. That's my grandfather, yes, son. Yeah. So I have family all over the place. Yes, correct. That is. Ken Lightbourne, that's my uncle, who will be laid to rest, Deputy, at 11 a.m. at Hillside View 70 Adventist Church. I understand it's a military funeral this Friday. Also, I just want to bring the attention to the family of Karen Knowles that lost their home yesterday in North Andros due to wildfire. I'm asking all government agencies, I have already reached out to the Minister for Social Services, the Minister for Urban Renewal, also Environment and Natural Resources, to assist this family, but also the general public, to those who can assist, to please reach out to Ms. Karen Knowles and the family, a family of 13 that was displaced yesterday. We have 7 adults, 4 kids, and 2 infants. So I'm asking the general public to please assist in any which way, form, or fashion. This is the time that we be our sisters and brothers' keeper. Also, in a lighter mood, I just want to say Happy Mother's Day to all my colleagues here in the House, honorable, all the colleagues here, mothers, of course. We make that clear. A special Mother's Day to all the mothers in Nabi. I want to say a special Mother's Day. Your gift bags are on the way. And to the entire public in Commonwealth of the Bahamas, to all mothers, I just want to say a special Happy Mother's Day. Again, and tomorrow, Friday also, and as I close, BAMSI graduation will be held at Friday at the institution in North Andros, 10 a.m. this Friday. So just want to say congratulations to all the BAMSI graduates that is upcoming, and thank you again.
Thank you, honorable member. The chair recognizes the honorable member for Bain and Grandstown.
Thank you,
for giving me this opportunity to rise in this house on behalf of the people of Baines and Grantstown. I'll be very, very brief, but we have over the last month experienced a number of natural and untimely deaths in the constituency of Baines and Grantstown. I will not wish to speak specifically due to the fact that it's time constraint and to avoid missing out any names for some of the families who may have lost loved ones. But, Mr. Deputy, I would like to extend condolences to the families of Baines and Grandson who may have lost loved ones during the month of April and most recently. Also, Mr. Deputy, I'd like to thank the constituents of Polling Division Number 2 who came out to the breakfast program on Saturday past at the McPherson Park on Hay Street. We served over 300 breakfasts, men, women, boys, and girls. And not only persons from Polling Division 2 showed up, but we had a number of persons from neighboring communities. It was a pleasure assisting as many of these persons as possible with hot meals, cold juices, and putting a smile on some of their faces. Mr. Deputy, on another note, this Sunday is Mother's Day, and I'd like to wish all mothers in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas a happy, happy Mother's Day, and I'll be remiss, Mr. Deputy, if I don't wish my mother a special happy Mother's Day in Freeport, Grand Bahama. This Saturday, we have our 4th annual Single Mothers Forum, and we'd like to encourage our single mothers to come and attend and be a part of this Single Mothers Forum as we have a number of interesting and exciting speakers. It starts at 12 noon at the Woodcock Primary School, and we'd like to encourage as many of our single mothers in the constituency as possible to come out and enjoy and be empowered at this particular time. Again, thank you very much, Mr. Deputy, and happy Mother's Day to all the mothers in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, in particular my colleagues as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The Chair recognizes the Honorable Member for West Grand Bahama and Bimini.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, to the families and loved ones across West Grand Bahama and Bimini constituency who are grieving their loss of Otters Neely, West End, Erlin Head, Sawyer Senior, Bimini, Kirkwood, Musgrove, Pinedale, Silas, Sonny Williams, Jonestown, Leslie Rule, Grand Bahama, and Fritz Big Boy Guerrero, Bimini. Words feel inadequate in the face of such profound sorrow. I share in your pain and stand with you in this difficult time. Each life lost represents a unique and irreplaceable presence. But please accept my deepest condolences. And Mr. Deputy, I will also like to take this opportunity to wish my lovely mother, Flora, my beautiful wife, Tova, my parliamentary colleagues who are mothers, and all of the wonderful mothers in West Grand Bahama and Bimini, the heartbeats of our homes and the steadfast guardians of our tomorrows. Happy Mother's Day. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The Chair recognizes the Honorable Member for Yamakura.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Speaker. I would like to join my colleagues in wishing all mothers in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas and in this Parliament happy Mother's Day, including especially the mothers of the great constituency of Yamakura. Mr. Deputy Speaker, we will be giving small tokens, gifts for our mothers in the constituency, so I want them to stay tuned. That is on the way. The Yamakura constituency PLP branch will be hosting a bingo night this Saturday. And so I want to invite all of my colleagues to come and also send a representative for bingo night. We know that, and this is being put on by the branch, we know that a lot of people like bingo. We have prizes, including television, vouchers, things like deep fries and gift certificates. And we're inviting all to participate in this event in the Yamakura constituency as we do more in Yamakura. But happy Mother's Day to all mothers in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The Chair recognizes the Honorable Member for Pinewood.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy. I would like to join the chorus of my colleagues in wishing the mothers of the great constituency of Pinewood a happy Mother's Day. But more personally, my mother, Beverly LaRoda, and my wife, Deidre LaRoda. Mr. Deputy, also while I'm on my feet, to give condolences to the family of the late Rodney Monca, my personal friend, and also former President of the Senate, J. Henry Boswick, who shares an organization with myself, the MP for Fox Hill, and also the MP for St. Barnabas. He is an avid lunch buncher. And so to Dame Janet and the other family members of the Boswicks and Monka family, condolences. Thank you, Mr. Deputy.
Thank you, Honorable Member.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy. Thank you for recognizing me. Mr. Deputy, first let me begin by offering sincere condolences to the families of the Monka family, as well as the family of J. Henry Boswick, a great Bahamian, one that will be missed for his contributions, not only in the legal field, but in general politics and in governance. Mr. Deputy, I'd like to say a happy Mother's Day to all the mothers of the great constituency of South Beach, and particularly the stalwart councillors, and particularly, of course, also the older mothers in the constituency who have held the community together. A special Mother's Day to Miss Lola May Roll, my mother, Miss Kimberly Roll, my wife. I have one sister, Theus Roll, and 8 sister-in-laws. So a special Mother's Day, and I wish you all well and have a wonderful day. Thank you, Mr. Deputy.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The Chair recognizes the Honorable Member for Pinewood.
I forget that our Mother's Day Sip and Paint will be held next week, Saturday, the 17th, on the Isaiah Taylor Park from 4 to 6 p.m. All mothers of Pinewood are invited to come out and attend and have a good time.
The Chair recognizes the Honorable Member for North Andros and the Berry Islands.
Deputy Speaker, just before we end, I would just like to, they say save the best for last. That's just part of my nature, looking out for everybody else. But I want to say a special Mother's Day to my mother before I can go back to Andros. Lenora, Jane, Great Brendan, all the way in Mangrove Key. May I love you. Happy Mother's Day. And to my grandmother, who's still alive, Pandora Veronica Miller, I love you. I just want to get that way. Thank you, Deputy.
The Chair recognizes the Honorable Member for North Abaco.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I too would like to join with my colleagues and wish all the mothers, all of them in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, a happy Mother's Day. Well, of course, I will point out the one most outstanding mother in the world to me. That is Ruth Cornish. Happy Mother's Day, Ruth. I do hope you enjoy. And I wish to extend my condolences to the 5 families of North Abaco who would have lost family members this week. I know we're pressed for time, so I wouldn't go into naming all of them. But to the 5 of you, my condolences. And it's my prayer that God will continue to strengthen you and be with you. Thank you.
Thank you, honorable members. Order that the communications to lie on the table. It has been moved. It has been moved and seconded that the House, it is arising, to adjourn to Wednesday, May 14th at 10 a.m. As many as are in favor will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. Final adjournment.
I now move, Mr. Deputy Speaker, that the House do adjourn to Wednesday, the 14th of May at 10 a.m.
Is there a seconder? It has been moved and seconded that the House do now adjourn. As many as are in favor will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. The motion is carried. The House stands adjourned to Wednesday, May 14th at 10 a.m.
All right.